What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. 7 Saw Chapter 151. My name is Lei Feng. Advertisement. Untouchable. What do you want to do? The middle-aged male Tianlong shouted loudly, his eyes full of shock. Karen looked at him coldly and kicked the 3 draconians into the cage. Ah, you untouchable. How dare you hit me? I will demote your whole family into slaves. The Tianlong people had never been so angry. He pointed at Karen's nose and cursed loudly. Karen's face was expressionless. Under the angry expressions of the Tianlong people, the Tianfeng in his hand gently slipped and split the protective cover above their heads into 2. Damn it, lousy is a Tianlong. The 3 celestial dragons all covered their mouths and noses. As gods, they disdained to breathe the same air as the untouchables. The slaves in the cage stared blankly at this scene, their eyes filled with shock and pleasure. You should know them, right? Karen stepped on the middle-aged Draco and said to the slaves in the cage. The slave who was crying just now raised his head and murmured. You actually did it. Following his words, the prison instantly boiled. They are the holy family of Chalmak, the real celestial dragons. He beat the celestial dragons. He actually dared to fight the celestial dragons. This is real. This is not a dream. We are going to be saved. The excited slaves grabbed each other's hands and hugged each other excitedly. Damn untouchables. Get down here, lousy. Who allows you to look directly at this saint? With trembling hands, Charmico Saint took out a controller from his pocket, which was the device that controlled the collar. He tried to use it to threaten the slaves, but it was too late. The slaves, who were originally immersed in cheers, suddenly became silent. They knelt on the ground in horror, not daring to raise their heads and look directly into the eyes of Saint Charma. Years of slavery have left them without the courage and consciousness to resist. At this moment, a cold light flashed, and Charma's neck was cut open, and blood spurted out, splashing on the ground and the slaves. The slaves raised their heads again and looked at Karen in shock, as if they had seen a god. They finally realized, the blood of the celestial dragons is also bright red. You. What did you do? The female Draco touched the blood on her face in horror, her eyes widening in disbelief. She never thought that someone would dare to challenge the authority of the celestial dragon, let alone that this person would dare to kill the celestial dragon in public. Advertisement. Of course I killed a piece of trash. Karen said coldly. No, this is not true. We are Tianlong people, how dare you? Karen ignored her, slowly walked out of the door, and threw several sharp knives to the bewildered slaves. You decide for yourself what to do. After today, you won't have a chance. The sharp knife fell on the ground, but no one dared to touch it. After all, not everyone has the courage to swing a knife at someone in power. Karen sighed and felt a little embarrassed for them. Just when Karen decided to get to know the 2 celestial dragons personally, a childish voice came from the depths. I'll do it. Karen looked at the little loli in front of him in surprise. Boya Hancock. Although I knew I might meet them during this operation, I didn't expect to meet them so quickly. As the most beautiful woman in the future world, Hancock now looks a little embarrassed. Not only unkempt, but also not clean. Hancock picked up the sharp knife on the ground, her eyes became firm, she took a deep breath and shouted. My name is Bo. I'm not interested in your name. Seeing that she was about to give her name, Karen quickly stopped her. This was not the place to say names. Once the name is spoken, the consequences will be disastrous. Hancock was stunned for a moment, and then understood Karen's intention. She nodded vigorously, a trace of gratitude flashed in her eyes. Then, she widened her eyes and stared at the female celestial dragon in front of her. The sharp blade in his hand stabbed the opponent's neck without hesitation, with a swift and decisive movement. With a shrill scream, blood spurted out like a fountain, splattering on the surrounding ground. I almost forgot, there is another small one. Hancock smiled a little crazy, and she handed the sharp knife to Karen. Dad, Mom. But most of the people here are weak slaves, and it is difficult to take them away safely. Then she started laughing loudly, with endless sadness and pain mixed in her laughter. Advertisement. If you want to escape, follow me. Elder sister. Although Karen now liberates the slaves here on his behalf, as a slave who escaped from Marijoya twice in the future, Fisher Tiger must know the way to leave Marijoya. At least Karen knew that one person must have a way. Okay, I remember. I will always remember your name. Benefactor, thank you. What is your name? Gradually more and more slaves followed Karen. Ha ha ha. I actually killed the celestial dragon. Did you see it? As a slave, I killed the celestial dragon. Why? Why do these untouchables dare to resist? In fact, Karen didn't know how to get out. If it were him, he would just fly out casually. Karen thought for a moment and said solemnly. She was laughing hysterically, as if she wanted to vent all her grievances in anger. With these words behind him, Karen turned and walked deeper into the corridor. Karen looked at Hancock speechlessly. This kid wouldn't be broken. After all, Hancock didn't kill the Draco with his own hands in the original novel. Karen looked at him coldly. There was no child in his heart. He was a child, so weren't these slaves present children? At this moment, the hatred in her heart was finally released. The young Tianlong looked at what was happening in front of him with horror on his face, and his inner faith had already collapsed. Two more little girls ran out from the depths, and they looked at Hancock worriedly.
Fisher tiger. Isn't he a celestial dragon? Isn't he a god?
As slaves of the celestial dragons, their races are all kinds of strange, and there are not many humans among them. Hancock's tears fell down her cheeks. She succeeded, she killed the celestial dragon with her own hands. Even Luffy, whom she had always admired, only beat up the celestial dragon. Seeing that no one except Hancock was swiping at the Draco anymore, Karen no longer delayed and split the young demon in half with one sword. But now, she not only saw Karen kill the celestial dragons with her own eyes, but she also did it herself. Benefactor, how do we get out? Without passing a cage, Karen chopped it open. However, this does not mean that there is no way. Hancock, who had been following Cullen, asked anxiously. You can call me Lei Feng. Chapter 152. Who are you? Advertisement. What happened? The patrol CPs in the prison noticed the abnormality and quickly ran towards the direction of the sound. Karen's movements became faster and faster, and as he continued to kill the enemies in front of him, the alarm sounded, and the whole Marijoya became tense instantly.
Quickly report to the higher-ups that someone has invaded Marijoya. A CP quickly called through the communicator, with panic in his voice. Karen's heart tightened. Time was running out. He had to find Fisher Tiger as quickly as possible.
Otherwise, when the 5 elders or marine generals arrive, none of them will be able to escape. Time was getting faster and faster. Karen passed through one prison after another, and finally found the figures of fish and mermaid in a more humid place. After cutting off the prison door in front of him, Karen had no choice but to continue running forward. Instead, enter the gate to look for Fisher Tiger. What's going on? A fishman screamed. The scene in front of him made him feel like he was dreaming. A young human told him what had just happened. You mean, we can leave tonight? The fishman tightly grasped the hand of the thin human in front of him, his body shaking violently with excitement. The young human was about to say something, but was interrupted by Karen. Is there a fishman named Fisher Tiger here? Karen's voice echoed in the damp prison, with urgency and determination. Fisher Tiger. He's in there, the fishman stammered in reply, seeming to be still digesting the situation in front of him.
In order to protect us, he was locked up in the deepest prison.
Quick, take me to find him. Karen no longer hesitated and rushed in the direction pointed by the fishman. Along the way, he could feel more and more slaves following him, and the hope in his heart was also spreading. They passed through several corners and finally came to a darker prison. The air here was filled with dampness and rancid smell. Karen slashed hard and the iron fence collapsed instantly, revealing the figure inside.
Fisher Tiger was locked in a cage. He was tall and muscular, but he looked particularly haggard at the moment.
Are you? Tiger looked at Karen with a hint of surprise in his eyes. We need your help to lead everyone out of here, Karen said bluntly. Karen threw a piece of barbecue from his coat pocket at Fisher Tiger, asking him to quickly replenish his body. Advertisement, Tiger took the barbecue and started biting into it without any hesitation. Yes, I know you have a way to escape, Karen said firmly. In just a few mouthfuls, Tiger swallowed the roasted meat into his stomach. He licked the oil stains from the corners of his mouth and took a deep look at Karen. I do know a way, but it's too dangerous, and I haven't tried it yet. The changes are too big. Tiger was a little hesitant, although he didn't understand why Karen was so sure, he still told what he knew. Karen understood that there was no time to care about the degree of danger now, as long as he could leave. What can I do? I know there is a sewage treatment facility nearby and we can leave through there, but I can't guarantee what the final route will be. Okay, just as you said, Karen made a quick decision. We need a lot of murlocs and merfolk to keep us safe. Tiger also knew that time was running out, so he hurriedly expressed his needs. Karen nodded and said loudly to all the slaves present. You heard it, now hurry up and save more fishmen and mermaids. With each additional mermaid or fishman, our safety will increase by 1 point. The slaves looked at each other, hope ignited in their hearts, and some of them immediately took action and ran towards the nearby prison. Tiger, what should we do? Karen asked, eyes firm. The sewage treatment plant is on the edge of Marijoya, which is usually a deserted area, but if it is discovered, the consequences can be disastrous. Tiger said, a trace of nervousness flashing in his eyes. Okay, I understand. Time waits for no one. Quickly contact other fishmen and tell them our plan. The alarm has been set off just now. We must wait for 10 minutes at most. Otherwise, we will not be able to escape when the CP0 people arrive. Karen said calmly. Hearing CP0 Tiger's face change drastically, he was about to say something. Was interrupted by a deep voice. What's the fuss about? Why didn't you call us for a banquet? In Karen's surprised eyes, 2 masked men poked their heads out from the deepest part of the prison. They wear cat masks and sheep masks respectively. CP0. When they came out and saw a group of people standing at the door, they felt a little confused. Huh? Not a party? Advertisement. The cat-faced mask scratched his cheek, a little unsure of the situation. He stretched out his finger and tapped the sheep mask. What is going on? Did someone attack Mary Joa? Obviously, yes. Compared to the cat face mask, which is unbelievable, the sheep mask is very calming. It's fake. This is Mary Joya, the holy place where the celestial dragons live. Was it attacked? Cat face mask still can't believe it, but Cullen had already taken action against them. Mokabottom. The biting cold instantly enveloped the two men's bodies. When they turned into ice lumps, they still kept talking and showed no ability to resist. The bonus that the Guhuo bird brought to Karen was too high. He had a hunch that even if he faced Kuzan, the strongest ice element in One Piece, he would not be at a disadvantage. In other words, after awakening conquerors and gaining the bonus of Guhuo bird, he already has the power of a general. For a moment, even Tiger, who was not the main target, felt like he was walking through hell. What a terrifying power, you are really. Tiger stammered and was speechless, his eyes full of awe and surprise. Karen thought for a while, and there was still time anyway, so he decided to go to the deepest room to see who was being secretly supervised by the Tianlong people. He was also very curious. Tiger didn't follow. He also told the fishman and the mermaid about the next crazy plan. Karen slowly pushed the door open. The room was small, the lighting was not good, and the smell of blood and decay was everywhere. He touched his pocket to illuminate the place with a lighter, but found nothing. Then he realized that the lighter had been sent out to perform a mission. Cough. Cough. I don't know, just kill me. At this time, in the darkness in the distance, a weak voice came, breaking the silence of the room. His voice was very harsh, as if it was squeezed out by him. Karen's heart tightened, and he looked towards the source of the sound, and a figure gradually appeared in front of his eyes. Is that a man in chains? Karen wasn't sure, because he was covered in ulcers, black liquid oozed from the wounds, and his whole body exuded a pungent rotten odor. His limbs were tightly bound by chains, and the muscles at the joints had atrophied, as if they would collapse at any time. Those rusty Madara's chains were deeply embedded in his skin, and the blood and pus were intertwined in a disgusting way. His facial features were even more distorted, his eyes were sunken, and it was impossible to distinguish his original appearance. But Karen always felt that there was something familiar about him. Who are you? Chapter 153 Sweet Fruit Advertisement. Marie Joya, upper level. Why so noisy? Saint Wachuli frowned slightly. I heard that there was a small fire, and the CPs have already gone to deal with it. Saint Satan crossed his legs. Saint Vasiuli asked doubtfully. Fire? It's not common in Marie Joya. At this moment, a phone call came from the phone. Sir, someone invaded Marie Joya's prison, and the slaves were, Gaba. The phone bug was hung up. The five elders looked at each other and saw shock and confusion in each other's eyes. Invasion of Marie Joya? Free the slaves? Do you want to listen to what you were talking about? What a joke. Saint Wachuli was furious. It can't be true. Are you sure it's not a prank by those damn moths? Not only did Saint Wachuli not believe it, but the five elders present also couldn't believe it. Boom. A powerful conquerors came from below Marie Joya, and even though they were so far apart, that terrifying power still affected this place. All kinds of glassware were shattered, and the whole Marie Joya was shaking. This is the great creator? How is that possible? The five elders looked shocked. Saint Wachuli swallowed hard. This is definitely not someone's conquerors. Although this power is very strong, it is still far behind I Am Sama. Saint Satan nodded in agreement. Yes, the five of us know Lord Im's conquerors best. Could it be? He's back? Mo Sheng's face was very ugly? Probably not, it's just a legend. Saint Nisholong was very calm. The phone call just now is very likely to be true. Someone really invaded Marie Joya and even released such a terrifying conquerors. Advertisement Mo Sheng speculated calmly. This powerful conquerors should be owned by a famous and powerful person, and they are probably the remnants of the old era. Saint Satan felt that what Saint Satan said was reasonable. He nodded and said in a deep voice. No matter what, the conquerors who dared to release such a terrifying force in Marie Joya should not be underestimated. Contact Marine immediately and ask them to send generals for support. Then he stood up slowly. If you dare to cause trouble in Marie Joya, you really don't take us seriously, leave the rest to me. Holy Land, Marigia, among the flowers in the deepest part of Pangu City. On the throne of the sky, a pair of scarlet pupils slowly opened in the darkness. Not you, Joyboy. His pupils slowly closed. What's going on? Tiger felt like he was being looked down upon by the creator. He curled up on the ground, his legs trembling uncontrollably. Fortunately, this pressure only lasted 3 seconds. He clenched his fists tightly, scratched the ground hard, then stood up with difficulty while holding his chest, and turned his gaze to the room where Karen had entered just now. What kind of force is this? Tiger clearly felt that the power was emanating from Karen. That's not good, Mr. Lei Feng. Hancock screamed and ran in from outside the prison. She looked around and found no trace of Karen. Where's the benefactor? She murmured, her eyes were blank, as if she had lost her soul. Tiger smiled bitterly, slowly walked towards Hancock and patted her on the shoulder. He's fine. Something happened in the innermost prison. Hancock looked at the prison deep inside, did not answer Tiger's question, and ran towards the prison quickly. Tiger touched his nose and wanted to grab Hancock's hand, but found that she had disappeared. Oh, what's going on? Soon, he understood what Hancock meant when he said it was bad. As slaves, they are often malnourished. Not many of them could stay awake under the impact of Karen conquerors just now. Even fewer can move freely. Even Tiger himself still feels palpitation in his heart. What a headache. Soon he shook his head and found that the scattered snake-headed tribes and fur tribes were not so easy to wake up. Advertisement, sweet fruit, petrified. Soon, Tiger was surprised to find that the most difficult people to wake up were fishermen and mermaids. Lord Lei Feng. After a moment of silence, a slight sound came from the corner. Hancock's teeth were chattering with the cold. She crossed her arms, trying to retain as much warmth as possible. This sentence was almost squeezed out of Karen's throat. You can imagine how much emotion he suppressed. Why leave Jesse in Marin Fendo? I took the Paramecia devil fruit. I'm the user with the ability of the sweet fruit. I can petrify the enemy. Hancock stared at Karen's blurred cheeks and said seriously. The cold air was like an invisible hand, tightly holding her heart. Being here is like entering the netherworld. After hearing Jess's name, Karen regretted it. A figure slowly walked out of the shadows. It was Karen. I will accompany you. Even though I am a slave, I also ate the devil fruit, and it still has some effects. Karen was a little different from his previous self, and seemed to have experienced some huge blow. She asked carefully, her tone full of care and tenderness. Why did he kill those two CP0s so easily? It was freezing to the bone in the dark prison. Hancock walked through the long and narrow corridor, hesitated at the door of the prison for a moment, then slowly opened the door and entered. When he saw Karen for the first time, Hancock suddenly felt an uncomfortable emotion in his heart. Lord Lei Feng, are you there? Fortunately, it was only for a moment, otherwise I would have considered giving up on jailbreaking. But he didn't think much about it. As more and more people were woken up, the prison became lively again, and the slaves were busy rescuing more people. The fragility and uneasiness intertwined in his deep eyes made Hancock's heart tighten. More and more fishmen and mermaids gathered around Tiger, and listened to Tiger telling them about his escape plan. What's wrong with you, Lord Lei Feng? There was a thin layer of water stains on his face. It was unclear whether it was tears or mist, and his expression looked a little dazed and haggard. Why would he provoke the enemy even though he knew someone was targeting him? She clearly felt that the person in front of her was suppressing pain and grief. Hancock waved his little fist, signaling to Cullen that he was very useful. Don't fish people really have human physiques? Tiger complained, and then began to shout the fainted slaves one by one. I want to kill someone. Her voice seemed weak in the empty space, almost swallowed by the darkness. Chapter 154 Little Joey advertisement. Karen slapped herself hard. How could she forget about her? The first time she saw Jesse, Karen knew she couldn't take him away. Given Jess's physical condition, even a slight movement could cause Jesse to die immediately. Karen thought about using ice to freeze Jess's body, but this was not possible because the bird's ability was not to create ice out of thin air, but to freeze it, which would also cause a lot of damage to the target. Jesse couldn't stand Karen's torture at all. Karen was even ready to give Jesse a ride herself. No, he is already taking action, because every second Jesse lives is torture for him. Fortunately, Hancock appeared in time, interrupted Karen's actions, and saved Jess's life. Petrified, yes, it can be petrified. Karen smiled. He excitedly grabbed Hancock's little hand and lifted her up. If it is petrified, Jesse still has a chance to save him. As long as he leaves here, I can find other ways. There are so many abilities in this world, and there must be the ability to save Jesse. I can find Vegapunk, the little human princess, the big bear, and even the surgery fruit. Ha ha ha, great. There are so many famous doctors, I don't believe no one can cure him. Hancock's cheeks, which were held up by Karen, instantly turned rosy, and his face was so hot that he could fry an egg. Lord Lei Feng, she shouted softly, feeling excited and shy at the same time. Ahem. Sorry, I'm too excited. Karen realized that his behavior was a bit rude, quickly put Hancock down, calmed down his emotions a little, looked into Hancock's eyes and said seriously. Hancock, I need you to do me a favor. Hancock's heart began to beat violently when Karen stared at her, and she felt like she could hardly breathe. Lord Lei Feng, is this your confession to me? So shy, should I agree to him now? But we have only known each other for less than half an hour. If I directly agree to Master Lei Feng, will he think that I am too rash? Wait, how does he know my name is Hancock? Could it be that Lord Lei Feng has already fallen in love with me at first sight, and in order to get me, has he secretly inquired about me from other people? I'm so embarrassed. Since Lord Lei Feng likes me so much, I should just agree to him directly. Hancock's heart stirred up, and the blush on his cheeks became more obvious. I do, Hancock blurted out, the blush on his face becoming more obvious. Okay, thank you, Hancock, you've been a big help. Karen shouted excitedly, completely unaware of Hancock's crazy thoughts in his mind. Is this a successful confession? Advertisement? As expected, Master Lei Feng was also very happy. How many children should we have? 3, Is it too little? I heard that some strong people just like to have more children. But giving birth seems to be painful. While Hancock was thinking, Karen took her hand and brought him to Jesse. I need you to help me petrify him without hurting him at all. Can you do it? I can. No matter how many there are. Hancock woke up from his inner fantasy and said excitedly. Ah, how many? He's the only one. Karen was confused and had no idea what Hancock was talking about. Just one? Hancock was a little disappointed, but she quickly adjusted her mood and returned to normal. It doesn't matter if it's just one, so that he can enjoy all the love of his parents alone. This is a thoughtful consideration from Mr. Lei Feng. He will definitely be a happy baby in the future. Right, little Joey, meaning happy, joyful. Karen looked at Hancock, who was lost in fantasy, and his head felt big. He had no idea that Hancock in front of him had already thought of the names of their future children. He also has the same name as the legendary sun god. No, eldest sister, did you listen to what I was saying? Karen is a little crazy. Now is not the time for fantasy. When the 5 elders or marine generals arrive later, he can't guarantee whether you will be able to escape smoothly. He took a deep breath and directly used the ability of Jiu Huodiao to reach out and hold Hancock's arm. The biting cold was like a needle pricking, and it quickly pulled Hancock out of his thoughts. Hiss, it's so cold. Hancock subconsciously wanted to struggle, but when she found that it was Karen's hand, she stopped struggling again. Are you awake? Karen said calmly and coldly. Listen, Hancock, he is my best friend. I need you to help me petrify him, but you can't hurt him. Karen repeated it again, fearing that Hancock would kill Jesse. Ah, okay, I understand. Since he is Lord Lei Feng's friend, he is also my friend. I will definitely not hurt him. In the biting environment, Hancock finally understood the situation before him. She looked at Jesse and was really shocked. The piece of rotten flesh in front of her was actually a person. Advertisement, and he is also Lord Lei Feng's best friend. She instantly understood why she had found Karen so miserable when she first came in. If it were her 2 younger sisters who suffered like this, she would probably go crazy. Realizing the seriousness of the problem, Hancock looked serious. She took a deep breath and forced herself to calm down. In fact, she didn't know much about sweet fruits. After all, the purpose of eating them for her was to please them. Except for performances, she wears the Sea Tower stone necklace at other times and has no chance to use this ability skillfully. Come on, Hancock, I can do this. In order to be excited with Master Lei Feng, I can definitely do it. She kept cheering herself up in her heart. It's beautiful, it's beautiful, it's the prisoner's arrow. A string of pink hearts appeared and passed through Jess's body. Then Jesse turned into a stone in an instant. Not only Jesse, but also the chains embedded in Jess's body turned into stone. Originally, Karen was a little worried that Jesse would lose Hancock's abilities due to pain. In the original work, the flying squirrel once resisted Hancock's charm by mutilating himself. But now it seems that Karen was overthinking and didn't expect that even dead objects would be affected by Hancock. He somewhat understood why Blackbeard wanted the sweet fruit. This ability is truly heaven-defying. Okay, Lord Lei Feng. Hancock, who had used the prisoner's arrow, was obviously a little weak. Karen nodded and thanked Hancock seriously. Thank you, Hancock. If I can help you in the future, I will definitely come. Then, with a flash of cold light in his eyes, he cut off all the excess chains attached to Jess's body. Then he immediately supported the petrified Jesse and carried Jesse behind his back. Hancock's eyes lit up. Must come? Going to Nine Snake Island? Lord Lei Feng, do you want to go with me to meet your parents? Well, I'm so happy. Hancock thought randomly, and his exhausted body suddenly became full of energy. Okay, Hancock, it's time to leave. Is Lord Lei Feng so impatient? Okay, Lord Lei Feng, Chapter 155 Saint Satan? Advertisement? This power? In Shocky's blackmail bar, Rayleigh sat up from the bed with a glint in her eyes. Bang! Rayleigh's door was violently pushed open, and Shacky stepped in. Why are you so angry? Rayleigh glanced at Shacky, raised his forehead and said. The Conqueror's just now. Has a smell that I'm very familiar with. Shacky walked into the room and stood on the windowsill, stunned. This Conqueror seems quite unfamiliar to me. He may not be an acquaintance of mine. Rayleigh was lost in thought. That strength feels strange to me too. Strong. Well, hidden under that Conqueror's, there is also a domineering force belonging to Nine Snake Island. Although it is only for a moment and it is still very weak, I can feel it. After all, I was once. You mean the Queen of Nine Snakes Island is also in Marijoya? Rayleigh frowned slightly. He knew that since the death of the previous emperor of Nine Snake Island, Toritoma, there has been no new emperor born on Nine Snake Island. The current Nine Snake Island is managed by the previous emperor Jiu Luoliosa. She has always wanted the previous emperor, Shacky, to return and restore the glory of Nine Snake Island. But what Shacky means now is that the current emperor of Nine Snakes Island is actually in Marijoya. That's right, I won't perceive it wrong. Although Shacky has long stopped asking about Nine Snakes Island, she was born in Nine Snakes Island after all. And she is also the former emperor of Nine Snakes Island. How could she really let go? It seems like Marijoya is destined to be lively tonight. Rayleigh got up and put on her clothes. Shaki was willing to give up the entire 9 Snakes Island to be with him. He was naturally not a heartless man. Tonight, he had to ask for Marijoya, even though he knew it was dangerous. Just don't go, leave it to me. Haha, dear, you don't think you are very handsome, do you? Can you find her without me? Shaki rolled his eyes. Shaki grabbed Rayleigh's wrist and chuckled. Ha ha ha, tonight. We will be together. As Rayleigh said, Marijoya was very lively tonight. Advertisement people of all kinds and different races, like carps crossing the river, shuttled around the edges of Marijoya. The originally holy Marijoya was turned into a noisy vegetable market. Different from the few thousand people the tiger brought out in the original work, the number of people gathered this time has reached more than 10,000, and slaves from all races gathered here. This was definitely the largest slave escape in the world. Nearly 60% of Marijoya's slaves followed Karen closely, and no one fell behind. They knew that this was their only chance, as long as they followed the man in front. 60% does not mean that Karen only rescued 60%. The main reason is that 20% have been persecuted to the point of being unable to escape, and the remaining 20% chose to commit suicide directly. Naturally, Karen was running at the front. Behind him were the 3 Hancock sisters and Tiger and the fisherman. Behind Tiger was also carrying the stone sculpture Jesse. After leaving the prison, Karen handed Jesse over to him. And told him to protect Jesse, because he still needs to clear the way. That night, Karen was like the god of war. After determining the target, he knew that the straight line between 2 points was the shortest, so he didn't care whether there was a road ahead. Under the sword energy and air conditioning, everything turned into a road. After freeing the conquerors, Cullen had no intention of hiding. Blood streaked across the night sky, and soon turned into a lump of ice and fell to the ground. I don't know how many CPs Karen killed tonight, but without exception, they were all killed with one sword. There are also strong men of various races beside Karen to help him clean up his role. Fortunately, years of slave life did not make them forget how to fight. But even so, many slaves were sniped by CP members from a distance. This is a racing game with Shinigami. Countless CP members are closely following the slaves. Even if Karen sometimes flies into the sky and swings his sword behind, he is the only strong one here. And it's Karen who can't use her full strength, he also has to hide his true identity. Holding the Zhangfeng in his right hand, Karen thought for a moment and quickly solidified an ice sword in his left hand. Double sword style 3000 troubled winds. This was a move he had never used before. Good name, I used it. Starting from Karen, an astonishing sword energy streaked towards the end of the team. The sword energy was like a violent wind, sweeping everything around instantly. Hundreds of enemies standing at the end of the team were cut apart without any reaction, and blood spattered out instantly. Karen took a deep breath, slowly landed next to Tiger, and said in a deep voice. How far is it? Tiger replied hurriedly. Advertisement. It's almost the last 5 minutes. 5 minutes? Haha, none of you can get out tonight. In the void, a huge teleportation array appeared out of thin air, and accompanied by blazing black lightning, a tall, thick-haired old man slowly appeared. Jagalusha Satan St. Karen's heart sank. Sartan's arrival meant that this place had been watched by IM, and he could summon other 5 elders to come for support at any time. What to do? Tiger also felt the power of Satan. He subconsciously looked in the direction of Satan, but then Tiger felt as if his head had been stabbed by a needle. The severe pain made him stagger. Not only him, but all the slaves who looked at Sartan had uncontrollable headaches. Those with poor health even fell into coma on the spot. Don't look directly at God. This was the only thought in Tiger's mind. HMPH. A bunch of ants and untouchables still want to see my true face. It's really ridiculous.
Saint Satan snorted coldly, completely ignoring these tens of thousands of slaves. For him, only Karen in the air was worthy of his treatment.
Feather-woven clothes? Your power gives me a familiar feeling. Saint Satan narrowed his eyes slightly and said to himself. He didn't doubt Karen. In his opinion, Karen was just a little marine with some talent at best, and it was impossible to achieve this level. As for the Guvuodiao, he didn't think about it either. Although the world government was the first organization to use devil fruit as a weapon, they still knew too little. In particular, the Guvuo bird is the only species of phantom beast. He only regarded Karen's strangeness as his own ability. This is in line with the common understanding of human beings in the world. Are you okay? Karen quickly got down and helped Tiger up. He understood that Tiger was the key to the slaves leaving. It's okay. He is too strong, we probably won't be able to escape, he is a god. Tiger stood firm and looked desperate. He was a god. He had no idea about this at first, but when Saint Satan appeared, he understood what it meant to be invincible and indefensible.
God. Karen shook his head, with a trace of disdain flashing in his eyes, and patted Tiger on the shoulder with a loud voice.
God is just a title for the strong. No one is born invincible. Even if he is a god, I will slaughter him for you today. Chapter 156. No, it's Gyuki advertisement. Tiger was stunned, and the despair in his heart seemed to be slightly dispelled by Karen's words. He raised his head and saw the unyielding flame in Karen's eyes, and the fear in his heart was gradually replaced by an inexplicable power. Karen continued, "No matter how powerful he is, he cannot control our will. As long as we have a fighting heart, we will not be afraid of any enemy." "But," Tiger's voice trembled slightly, "he is really too strong. If we fail." "We will not fail." Karen interrupted him, his eyes firm as iron. "I will prove it with my sword." After listening to Karen's chicken soup, Tiger's heart ignited with a passionate fire. He took a deep breath and looked at Karen, his heart filled with gratitude and admiration. "Okay, I will fight to the end." "Very good, you follow the plan. As for him." Karen spat on the ground and said disdainfully. "Just leave it to me." Tiger nodded and shouted in a deep voice to the rear of the troops. "Don't look at him, everyone follow me and keep rushing forward." This sentence was passed from person to person, and soon everyone reacted and continued to move forward. Lord Lei Feng. Hancock approached Karen, wanting to say something. Karen knew that she was worried about him, so he reached out and gently rubbed her head and whispered. "Don't worry about me, Hancock, your mission is to help me bring him back safely." "Yes, I will." Hancock nodded heavily. "Want to leave? That's ridiculous. Where do you think this is?" Saint Satan waved his hand suddenly, and the black lightning turned into a powerful shockwave and went straight towards the crowd. The air seemed to be trembling, and the surrounding soldiers showed fear. Twin sword style Rashomon. A biting sword energy fiercely greeted Saint Satan's black thunder and lightning. The air roared, and powerful airwaves swept around in an instant. "Let's go." Seeing that Karen could resist Saint's attack, Tiger hurriedly shouted that the time Karen had bought for them could not be wasted. "This powerful force, you are definitely not an unknown person in this sea. Who are you?" A trace of surprise flashed in Saint Satan's eyes, and black lightning twisted around him, making him like a god. "I'm Daddy. Advertisement, Lion Thousand Slice Valley." Karen took the initiative to attack, and the move he called out this time was also a master of the double sword style, Golden Lion Shiki. Countless sword energy swept towards Saint Satan, and Saint Satan easily dodged in the air. "Lion. Golden Lion." Saint Satan frowned slightly. For the first ruthless man who dared to single-handedly enter the Marine headquarters, Marinvondo, and the first pirate to successfully escape from Impel Down, Saint Satan was no stranger to this name. "No, you can't be the Golden Lion. Although the moves you used are very similar, the Golden Lion is a user with the Piao Piao fruit ability. According to our information, he has not turned into the form of a birdman." "What a Golden Lion, Lousy doesn't understand." Karen's eyes flashed, he roared, and continued to launch new attacks. Double sword style Lion Heart Sword Dance. The terrifying sword intention boiled in Karen's body, with such terrifying momentum that even Saint Satan no longer dared to despise it. Karen's double blades drew a graceful arc in the air, and the sword light flashed, like a lion galloping on the grassland, with unparalleled momentum. As he screamed at the top of his lungs, the surrounding air seemed to be torn apart, forming sword energy that swept towards Saint Satan. "You can actually release such powerful sword intent." Saint Satan's face changed slightly, and he mobilized all his strength. "However, this makes me think that you may really be a Golden Lion. Even if you are not, you are closely related to the Golden Lion." What responded to him was Karen's sharp sword moves. Boom! The sword energy surged towards Saint Satan like a tide, instantly surrounding him. A deafening roar burst out in the air, as if the earth was shaking, and the entire atmosphere of Marijoya also changed. The crowds of people running on the ground looked towards the center of the battle without exception. That kind of terrifying power made everyone tremble. Lord Lei Feng. Hancock stopped, his eyes full of worry. "This level of battle is beyond our control. Don't worry, I believe in him." Tiger comforted softly. "We believe it too," Santa Sonia and Marigold said in unison. "Well, keep going. You can't live up to Lord Lei Feng's expectations." Hancock nodded firmly. He couldn't accept that he would be hurt by ants. "Damn ant, I want you to die." He felt that his legs were trembling, and he felt like a weak insect in front of his terrifying pressure. Advertisement, Yuki. Is it Lord I Am? It is a pressure that is more terrifying than Lord I Am. But soon a black mist healed all his wounds. Saint Satan's figure slowly appeared. The feeling of being cornered made him even more furious, as if the whole world was laughing at his failure. A series of hideous and terrifying scars spread like insects on his body, dripping with blood and making people shudder. Not even a scar appeared. That's Karen. Everyone was stunned by the power displayed by the Satan Sanctuary. Who is it? Animal-type phantom species, Yuki form. He felt that his self-esteem had been hit like never before. His voice was low and threatening, black lightning danced crazily around him, and there was a suffocating sense of oppression in the air. Like Marco and Crow, he was also unable to resist the pressure from his soul. Yuki form. "You ant, how dare you let me be so seriously injured, I will make you pay a heavy price." At this time, Saint Satan was completely without the elegance and calmness he had when he first arrived. The clothes on his upper body had been torn apart by the sword energy, revealing his strong muscles. But there is one exception, he felt like his mouth was secreting saliva. As a gourmet, he didn't resist eating spiders. Karen discovered this keenly. He exuded strong coercion, as if he wanted to swallow up everything around him. The corners of his mouth raised slightly, and a light flashed in his eyes. No, just waiting for you to transform. The beef is quite good, and as for the spider, I heard it tastes very fragrant after being fried. Saint Seiden's face was twisted and filled with anger. At this moment, his heart had been swallowed up by anger. The roar lasted for a full minute. The power that Saint Seiden was gathering suddenly began to block, because he felt a creepy sight looking at him. Haha, it seems that next time, it's time to show off your cooking skills. Let's enjoy it. As the sword light dissipated, the next moment, he transformed into a terrifying monster with horns growing out of its head and a spider underneath. Chapter 157 God's Advertisement. Is it you? Saint Seiden finally found the source of his fear, which was Karen standing opposite him. No, this is impossible. Even the Golden Lion, no, even Lord I Am cannot have such terrifying pressure. The sweat on Saint Seiden's face was like rain, his legs softened and he fell straight down. Maybe I'm scarier than the Lord I Am in your mouth. Karen chuckled lightly, without the sense of urgency that he had just faced a powerful enemy. Impossible. Lord I Am is a god and the strongest person in the world. Saint Seiden murmured. This time Karen did not continue to pay attention to him, but looked at the hidden front in his hand. If he hadn't been afraid of exposing his identity, he would have controlled him with a 100% bare-handed sword. It's a pity that his ability is far less powerful than Li Jing's. In Xilang, this ability was used by Li Jing. It was a magical skill. He could even suck people out of black holes, and he could instantly kill people who were not in a position to receive the sword. But when Karen used it, it was not so abnormal. He can only control one person in his field of vision, and it is directly ineffective against people who cannot receive the sword. Therefore, as Karen becomes more and more powerful, the usage rate of 100% bare-handed swords in Karen's hands gradually becomes much less. Now there are only two abilities that can increase combat power. One is Karen's most frequently used secret skill. The moment he shouts it, he can strengthen Karen's attack. The other was a foodie that Karen was beginning to find very tasteless. No matter who you are or how powerful you are, as long as you have the characteristics of an animal, this ability can suppress 90% of the target's strength. It's not just strength, it can even affect thinking, giving the opponent a feeling that Karen can't defeat or resist. This is how Saint Sardin is now. Before being turned into Gyuki, Karen was not sure of defeating him. But as long as he uses the ability of the animal fruit, there is no need to predict the outcome. That must be Karen's win. You call yourself a god, but now, aren't you still crawling in front of me like a bug? Karen said coldly, every word showing an invisible pressure. The figure of Saint Seiden seemed extremely small in front of Karen, and the aura that was once aloof was completely crushed at this moment. Advertisement, how dare you speak to me like this? Saint Seiden gritted his teeth, a trace of rage flashed in his eyes. You're right, I should talk about it after you're dead. After all, I understand that villains die from talking too much, although I don't consider myself a villain. Karen made an inappropriate joke, but unfortunately no one present laughed. Forget it, I have nothing to say to you natives. Indigenous people? Laozi is a celestial dragon, and Laozi is a god. Do you really think you will win? If you have some sense, catch those slaves back quickly. I can ask Master Yimu to forgive your guilt. If you behave well, we can even make you a celestial dragon and a true god. God? Celestial dragon? Karen sneered, his tone full of ridicule, and then he suddenly thought of something and asked. Have you ever seen a real god? Of course, Lord I Am is the supreme god. No, I'm talking about the real god, not a poor guy who hides his face. This is blasphemy, Lord I Am. I request divine punishment to eliminate this arrogant person in front of me. Saint Seiden was still lying on the ground, roaring above Mary Joa. Under Karen's pressure, he completely forgot that he could summon other 5 elders to come for support. God's punishment? Zhangfeng suddenly disappeared from Karen's hands. Haha, be afraid, you blasphemer. Karen ignored the already crazy Saint Seiden. A pair of huge wings spread out from his back, and his figure slowly flew upwards. Have you seen eternity? What? Karen slowly closed his eyes and recalled the general's actions in his mind. The illusion is like the floating world, relying on the essence to survive. Silence is the essence, hidden under the fragile bubbles, and its name is eternity. Karen began to chant unconsciously, and a soaring chill spread across Karen's body. The biting chill made the blood of everyone present freeze, as if the entire space was frozen by this force. What is this? What are you doing? Saint Seiden's voice trembled, and his eyes flashed with disbelief. Under the light of majesty, the world is like a shadow. Only eternity is the closest to heaven. Karen put her hand on her chest, and Zhang Feng's figure slowly emerged. Advertisement compared with fleeting thunder and lightning, solid ice seems to be more suitable for eternity. As the hidden front appeared, Karen opened his eyes, and a white color appeared in his pupils that made it difficult to look directly. Wu Nian, cut off. As he said the last word, Zhang Feng bloomed with an unparalleled cold light in his palm, and the cold breath surged out like a tide, sweeping across the entire battlefield in an instant. No, don't. Saint Satan yelled in horror, but his voice was swallowed up by the cold and seemed extremely weak. He felt that his body was gradually being eroded by the coldness, and the strength of his limbs dissipated in an instant, as if locked by invisible frost. The coldness spread rapidly, and the CPs who were chasing the slaves felt the biting cold. They desperately tried to evacuate to the rear, but found that their bodies seemed to be bound by invisible chains and had nowhere to go. Ah, no, I don't want to die. A CP screamed desperately, but his voice became weak in the cold light and eventually turned into a silent wail. Under that cold light, all vitality was locked, as if the whole world stood still at this moment. Even Saint Satan, who was the five elders, was eroded by the cold light. His figure began to blur, and was gradually frozen in the ruthless frost, turning into an eternal ice sculpture. His eyes were full of disbelief and despair, but he could no longer utter a cry. Karen's figure slowly fell down, and finally landed smoothly on the ground. He felt like he was back in the training camp where he played against Perusalino. No, it's more serious than that time. After releasing that sword, the power of his body was instantly drained. The reason why he is still able to fight now is entirely because Gu Huoniao's ability is supporting him. I did this? Karen murmured, somewhat unbelievable. Do I have such power? Although this sword did not split the mountain in half like the Thunderbolt General, it also caused a huge ravine to appear on the edge of Marijoya. The cold ravine was like an abyss, tearing the originally peaceful land apart, showing that unparalleled power. Is this the damage I've caused? Karen murmured to herself, her heart filled with complicated emotions. His power could reach such a level, yet he was so unconscious when using it. He closed his eyes and tried to remember what it felt like at that moment. Chapter 158 Old Man Advertisement. He didn't think much about it at the time. He just kept hearing what Saint Satan said about God and divine punishment, which aroused the evil taste in Karen's heart, so he thought about using a trick he had used in a game in his previous life. See skills. Could it be that the skills in the game are more powerful than those in anime and martial arts? No, I have used the skills in the game before, and I don't feel this way at all. There is no such thing as critical hit and critical hit damage in unparalleled skills. Alas, never mind, it's good for me anyway. Unable to figure it out, Karen stopped thinking. The most important thing at the moment was to get out of here quickly. Now he has no ability to continue fighting, but before leaving, he would not forget to hit the target. Tell the bird in your heart, let it fly to the holy Satan. Karen had no idea of letting go of this beast. Just when Karen was about to take action, an exaggerated voice came into his ears. It's so scary, this power makes me feel scared, you are so powerful. Karen quickly retreated, and a laser blast blasted a big crater out of his original location. Perusalino? Damn it, isn't he in Punk Hazard? Why so fast? Oh, you know me. I was targeted by a scary guy like you. A yellow flash of light appeared in front of Saint Satan, and it quickly condensed into the appearance of Perusalino. He was still so wretched and lazy. Who doesn't know Marine's backup general? Karen said coldly that since he had used life return to adjust his vocal cords, he was not afraid of Perusalino recognizing him. Ah, is that so? But I always feel like I should have seen you somewhere else. Perusalino picked his ears and said casually. Karen's heart tightened, but her expression remained unchanged. He knew that no matter how much he adjusted his body structure, there was still a risk of being exposed when he met a top expert who was familiar with him. Because there are many things you can't change. For example, a person's daily habits, postures, movements, and speaking habits. These small and inconspicuous actions can often tell the other person your true identity more directly. Therefore, adhering to the principle of saying too much, Karen plans to stop talking. Haha, it seems I guessed it right. Perusalino's eyes narrowed, as if he was recalling something. He approached Karen and said, Advertisement? Pirate? Or marine? Hurry up, hurry up. At the edge of the Red Earth continent, Tiger shouted anxiously. The Red Continent is different from other mountain peaks in that it is almost vertical. Standing on the edge and looking down, you can't even see the sea. No matter who it is, as long as it jumps from above, it will be a dead end. Of course, that includes fishmen. But there is a sewage here, a sewage that flows from Marijoya to the sea. This is why Tiger is confident to leave with the slaves. As long as there is water, he can keep floating and slowly land. It can be said that as soon as they arrived here, the fish people had successfully escaped from Marijoya. But there are not only fishmen here, but also all kinds of strange foreigners. Fortunately, because the price offered by the celestial dragons to the Murlocs was very high, Marijoya had quite a few Murloc slaves, so Tiger was confident that these slaves would land safely. At this moment, a powerful earthquake mixed with a biting chill hit here. Get down, Tiger yelled, and then looked worriedly towards the direction of the earthquake, which was the direction where they separated from Karen. Lord Lei Feng. Hancock clenched his fists, and a tyrannical aura came from Hancock. She had a full Conqueror's awakening. It seems I guessed it right, you are Marine. Perusalino's eyes were full of amusement. Not many Marines have such strength. Karen finally couldn't help but said, yes, I'm Marine. The straightforward answer stunned Perusalino, and then a smile spread on his face, like a blooming chrysanthemum. Ha ha ha, I'm just kidding. How can there be a dangerous person like you in Marine? We are all law-abiding citizens. Please don't slander us, pirate. Karen stopped talking. He seriously doubted that Perusolino had recognized his identity. Otherwise, why would he be so impatient? Karen would have already taken action. If you want to know the identity, let the target fall down and ask again. Karen didn't believe that Perusolino didn't understand why he was taking advantage of his illness to kill him. Advertisement, it seemed that he was speculating on Karen's identity, but Karen always felt that he was stalling for time. As for why he was doing this, Karen didn't understand, because he knew that he came alone and had no strong foreign aid at all. And in such a short time, even if Karen has the ability to sit up, he does not have the resources to replenish energy. Perusolino was still speculating on Karen's identity, and seemed to want to use a verbal offensive to completely crush Karen. What's the name of that move you just used? Hey, I remember calling it Lion Thousand Slice Valley. If I remember correctly, it should be the Golden Lion's move. I didn't expect this guy, he had already arrived when I used Lion Thousand Slice Valley, but he just kept hiding and didn't show up. Karen cursed in his heart, he is indeed a Kizaru, the chosen worker, the Fish King, I am sure. Perusolino asked. Tell me, who are you, the Golden Lion? It's really crazy to say it. Yes, I am the heir of the Golden Lion, you can call me Black Crow. Karen is not straightforward but strong. The corners of Perusolino's mouth twitched uncontrollably. He has seen crows. Ahem, ha ha ha, I guessed it right, Black Crow, go to hell. Perusolino finally asked the answer he wanted. He finally decided to take action against Karen. No, he took action. Young man, have you ever been kicked by a light? Mud, this guy just takes action as he says. A look of astonishment appeared on Karen's face. The yellow laser gradually dilated in Karen's pupils. Even a normal Karen wouldn't be able to avoid Perusolino's attack, let alone the weakest Karen. He could only watch as he was penetrated by Perusolino's laser. Alas, I didn't expect it to end so soon, it seems to be unfinished. Karen slowly closed her eyes, not intending to die in peace. But after 2 full seconds, the pain and impact of being hit still didn't come. Karen opened her eyes, and a familiar figure appeared in front of Karen. He wore a white cloak, whirring under the impact of energy. When he turned his head to look at Karen, the scar on his right eye, which was supposed to represent ferocity, looked extremely charming at this moment. Now I believe that you were as handsome as me when you were young. Handsome. Old man. Chapter 159 Arrival Advertisement. This is it. At the top of the Red Continent, 2 people were flying. They're none other than Shaki and Rayleigh, it's getting clearer. Well, I can feel it too, like Conquerors has just awakened. The 2 ran for a while and finally saw Tiger and Hancock who were organizing diving. The slaves in front of them were like dumplings. Under the command of Tiger and Hancock, they jumped down from high places in an orderly manner. In the sewage channel, there was a fishman or mermaid floating every 100 meters. Every time there is a group of people, there is a fishman below to catch them with water. The fishman shuttles through the water with amazing agility and strength. His body is as flexible as a fish under the water, and he can accurately determine the landing point of every slave who jumps off. The moment they jumped up, the fishmen were ready. This process is like a tacit cooperation. There is no language between the fishman and the slave, but there is a deep understanding and trust. In this ever-changing scene, the fishman is not only the rescuer who catches them, but also their guide to freedom. In order to avoid wasting time, every slave jumped very fast. In the blink of an eye, all the slaves on the shore had left. They don't know the consequences of jumping, but they know the consequences of being recaptured. So none of them hesitated when facing the abyss. Rayleigh stared blankly at this scene, feeling an indescribable feeling in his heart. He tried to use words to describe the scene in front of him, but found that any words were pale and weak. Shocking. Orderly. None of these words seemed to fully express what he was feeling deep inside. It all happened so quickly and orderly, like a carefully choreographed dance. The fishmen swim in the water like elves in the water. Their movements are smooth and natural, perfectly matching the slaves jumping. The whole scene was filled with a strange sense of harmony. What exactly is going on here? Rayleigh's pupils shrank. Tiger on the other side also sensed Rayleigh's arrival. Who? Tiger roared, his eyes full of vigilance and nervousness. Too many things had happened that night, and now he was on the verge of panic. Ahem, don't be nervous, we don't mean any harm. Rayleigh coughed lightly, looked at each other with Shaki and slowly walked towards Tiger. Advertisement, what to do? Hancock was also very anxious, she could sense that the 2 people in front of her were very powerful. Tiger closed his eyes and gritted his teeth, don't worry about them yet, don't stop, we can't live up to the time that Lord Lei Feng bought for us. Rayleigh stopped and smiled bitterly. Believe us, we really don't mean any harm. But Shaki beside him had no intention of stopping, she stared at Hancock with burning eyes. The eyes are full of tenderness and care. Are you from Nine Snakes Island? Shaki's voice was trembling. As the former emperor of Nine Snake Island, she was almost certain that the teenage girl in front of her was the current emperor of Nine Snake Island. Hancock looked at her warily, and then she was a little confused, because she felt a sense of intimacy with the woman in front of her. Yes. As expected, Shaki was very fast and appeared in front of Hancock in just an instant. Don't be afraid, I am also from Nine Snake Island. Hancock was stunned. The woman in front of him turned out to be from Nine Snake Island. Are you really from Nine Snakes Island too? Hancock's voice trembled slightly, with both surprise and expectation in his heart. She remembered the sea area where she and her two sisters were abducted by human traffickers on the ship of the Nine Snakes pirates 2 years ago. At that time, she believed the lies of the traffickers, and she didn't understand what happened until the slave mark, hoof of the sky-soaring dragon, was branded on her back. When she heard that the woman in front of her was also from Nine Snakes Island, she couldn't help but feel a little excited and nostalgic. Yes, I was once the emperor of Nine Snake Island. Shaki's voice is gentle but firm, and his eyes reveal affectionate memories. It's a very dangerous place there, are you sure you want to go alone? Shaki asked. You are the emperor of Nine Snake Island. You must be very powerful. I beg you to rescue Lord Lei Feng. Hancock looked at Shaki blankly, with tears glistening in his eyes. She nodded heavily and replied with a choked voice. Yeah. Shaki also smiled. She suddenly came close to Rayleigh's ear and whispered. Wearing clothes woven with black feathers, you can't see his face clearly, but you will definitely recognize him when you arrive. Just then, Rayleigh's voice suddenly sounded. Wait, Shaki. Advertisement. After a while, he spoke. With that said, Hancock made a gesture to kneel down towards Shaki. There is another person? Is she also from Nine Snake Island? Now is not the time to talk. I'm still Pluton Rayleigh after all. You don't know him, do you? Rayleigh touched her chin, lost in thought. Hancock shouted anxiously. Shaki nodded. Tiger listened for a long time and knew that this was an opportunity to rescue Karen. He did not hesitate and knelt down after Hancock finished speaking. No, we can't leave. There's still one person who hasn't come out yet. I can save him, but I hope you understand that the Emperor of Nine Snake Island does not need to kneel to others. Shaki gently lifted Hancock up, turned around and prepared to gallop away into the distance. No, he is our benefactor. Without him we would never have been able to escape from that place. Rayleigh looked at Tiger and asked with a serious expression, Is there only one person? Shaki frowned slightly and said worriedly, Shaky, you stay, I'll go by myself, it's safer. Shaki stopped and looked back at Rayleigh doubtfully. Don't worry, I will be more confident alone. Rayleigh smiled slightly. Yes, let's leave here first and return to the Sabodi Islands. Tiger stood up and nodded, yes. Shaki stopped Hancock, who was about to kneel down, grabbed her arm tightly, stared into her eyes firmly but tenderly, and said slowly. Tiger recalled the scene at that time and described. Hancock looked worriedly in the direction away from Karen. His name seems to be Lei Feng. At this time, Rayleigh also came over. He looked at Shaki and said in a deep voice. Then, Rayleigh asked, What does he look like? With such a big thing happening, the Tianlong people will definitely not let these slaves go. We better leave as soon as possible. Chapter 160 Rayleigh, Advertisement. It's fake, Pluton Rayleigh is here. Although Perusalino sounded surprised, Karen felt that he was not surprised by Rayleigh's appearance. You are indeed a pirate, you are really scary. This sentence was said to Karen and seemed to mean something. Rayleigh chuckled and said, It turns out that we pirates also have such righteous people, it's really rare. Justice? Perusalino's expression condensed, and then he seemed to be mocking the pirate. Don't you think it's ridiculous to name this from a pirate? But in fact, it seems like this. The pirates rescued the people oppressed by World Noble. Rayleigh retorted and continued, Aren't you also wearing justice? How about letting us go? Perusalino tilted his head and said in an unhurried tone. Are you a threat? Oh, just let me go. If we don't catch him, our marine headquarters will not be able to explain to the Draconians in Marijoya. What's more, even the 5 elders can't beat people, in his hands. So can you please stay out of the way? Rayleigh took off her white cloak and said distressedly. I don't want to take care of it. I can only accept the entrustment of others. Therefore, I will save this person. Yeah? Perusalino was non-committal, and it seemed that he no longer wanted to be entangled with Rayleigh. I've long heard that Pluton Rayleigh is the right arm of Roger One Piece. I didn't expect that I could still fight with you. As he spoke, he put away his legs and condensed a golden lightsaber from his palm. Tien Kong Yun's sword. Rayleigh took out his sword from his waist with a backhand and stood facing Perusalino. The atmosphere between the sword light and the lightsaber instantly became tense. Their eyes were as sharp as swords, and they met in the air. You leave first and leave this place to me. Rayleigh stared at Perusalino and whispered to Karen. Okay, be careful. Karen nodded and decisively let Guhunyao take him away. He is not an indecisive person. He understands that as long as he can leave safely, Rayleigh will have a chance to escape from Marijoya. Want to leave? Unfortunately, Perusalino did not intend to let Karen leave so easily. You seem to have forgotten that I am a flash person and will not let you leave easily. There was a trace of ridicule in Perusalino's voice, and his lightsaber trembled slightly in his hand. The next moment, he suddenly appeared behind Karen. Advertisement. The speed was so fast that even Rayleigh couldn't react. Not good, Rayleigh yelled, but it was too late to stop him. Behind Karen's back were frantic warnings, but unfortunately, no one could help him this time. Boom. There was a huge impact sound, like thunder, and Karen's figure was like a cannonball. No, it was flying back at a speed much faster than the cannonball. Soon, when he was almost at the edge of the cliff, Karen felt that the power exerted on him was dissipating. This shortened the 5-minute journey Karen would have taken to just 2 seconds. He did it on purpose. Karen keenly felt that although the force seemed very powerful, it did not hurt his body at all. Perusalino sighed, as if he was not satisfied with the blow just now. Just as he was about to pursue him again, he was blocked by Rayleigh. I won't let you pass by. Rayleigh's conquerors was fully open, and the momentum was astonishing. Even Perusalino was intimidated by this momentum and did not dare to move forward at all. At this moment, he was sweating like rain, said loudly. What an exaggerated conquerors. He is worthy of being Pluton Rayleigh. With this momentum, my abilities are somewhat inhibited. Rayleigh's mouth twitched slightly. He didn't remember that conquerors had the effect of suppressing lobia. At this moment, a cold voice came out. What a waste. In the void, a huge teleportation circle suddenly appeared. 4 shadows slowly emerged. They were the other 4 of the 5 elders. Saint Satan had been away for so long and still hadn't come back, so they had a hunch that something was wrong, so they chose to teleport directly. But I didn't expect that. As soon as I came over, I saw Perusalino being controlled by Rayleigh. Rayleigh's heart sank, and he realized that the situation was getting out of control, and he might really have to tell the truth this time. Tisk, tisk, such a terrifying attack. If you weren't with us just now, I really doubt that you did it. Saint Pitt looked at the gully cut by Karen and said to Saint Nassau Lang. Saint Nashu Lang's eyes were also attracted by this terrifying slash, and he murmured. Even if I want to achieve this level, it is not that simple. Saint Satan's defeat is not unjust. Saint Pitt looked at Saint Satan, who was carved in ice, with solemn eyes. Well, I have something to say to Roger later. Why are you thinking so much? Just ask later, Mo Sheng said coldly. Advertisement, have you been to the final land? He escaped. If Pluton Rayleigh hadn't stopped him, I would have caught him. Lousy was beaten to death by 5 strong men. That's right. Well, is he the culprit of all this? It seems I can't go back today. That guy from St. Sarton can't dodge even if he uses his devil fruit ability. Perusalino pointed to Rayleigh. Saint Vasiuli pointed at Rayleigh and asked Perusalino. Ha ha ha, my life is really wonderful. We've been there, our captain calls it Riftru. Don't be so angry, isn't there another one? Even his captain had never experienced such treatment. 1 Piece's right wrist. Perusalino raised the lightsaber in his hand, his face full of regret and helplessness. 4-5 elders plus a marine general. Perusalino plucked his ears and said with unclear meaning. He seems to be upset that Karen is leaving. Rayleigh also sighed. Even in his heyday, when he was following Roger, he had never encountered such a desperate situation. Where's the mastermind? Wachuli asked with eyes wide open. It's not like you, who was executed by 2 soldiers so easily. Perusalino immediately replied. No, he is just an accomplice. Saint Wachuli asked. Maybe he was too careless, Saint Wachuli guessed. Saint Wachuli sighed. Rayleigh's eyes lit up, and she laughed out loud thinking about the scene when she saw Roger. So it seems like my ending was pretty good. I can barely give an explanation. Saint Wachuli snorted coldly. I don't want to hear so many excuses. Isn't this what General Marine is capable of? He really lost that sparkling fruit in vain. The 4-5 elders looked at each other, and they all thought Rayleigh was crazy. He's just a substitute, not a general yet. Humph. Wachuli Sheng glared at him fiercely, his expression gloomy. Being looked at by these people, Rayleigh was also helpless. He could only nod and admit. Let's do it. Chapter 161 Escape Advertisement. Whatever you do, get up. At this time, a slightly familiar voice came into his ears. Rayleigh opened her eyes and found herself kneeling in front of a man covered in wings in a particularly funny posture. There is no doubt that this person is Karen. What's going on? Even though Rayleigh was well informed, he was still a little confused by the scene in front of him. This made him wonder if what he had just experienced was a dream. Without any warning, he left so openly. This is one of my abilities, Uncle Rayleigh. Now that he has used it, Karen has no intention of hiding his identity in front of Rayleigh. He owes Rayleigh a favor both emotionally and rationally. You know me? Rayleigh didn't seem surprised either. I know, there are a lot of people talking here. I'll explain it to you when I get back.
Karen nodded. Good. Don't worry, they will come back safely.
Shaki looked at Hancock and comforted softly. Yeah, I believe it too. Hancock nodded heavily, but the worry in his eyes did not recede much. Back, just the 2 of them, no pursuers. At this moment, Tiger spotted Karen and Rayleigh heading here. He suppressed his inner excitement and roared excitedly. As expected of Pluton Rayleigh, he was able to escape safely from such a dangerous situation. That is, although he is old, he is still very trustworthy. Shaki's hanging heart was relieved. Lord Lei Feng. Hancock anxiously ran towards Karen, past Rayleigh, and jumped on Karen's body. Rayleigh smiled helplessly. Fortunately, at this time, Shaki also came over and hugged him gently, which did not make the scene very awkward. It seems that the current emperor of Nine Snake Island will also be sick. Advertisement Rayleigh teased. Maybe this is the fate of our Nine Snakes Island. Shaki looked at Hancock hanging on Karen's body with interest, seeming to think of his own past, with some envy and yearning in his eyes. No matter how well she takes care of herself, there is no doubt that she is getting older. There has long been a lack of passion between him and Rayleigh, leaving only a dullness. Why, are you envious? Rayleigh saw Shaki's yearning. Shaki covered his mouth and chuckled. What are you talking about? They should be envious of us, right? She was right. Karen was indeed envious of them, because he had almost no strength now, and Hancock was still climbing on him. Damn it, sister, can you please be gentle? I'm still injured. With Hancock holding his neck, Karen was almost out of breath. This guy grew up on whatever he ate, why is he so heavy? Karen groaned inwardly. In fact, it was not Hancock who sank, but Karen was too weak. The previous blow drained all his strength. However, he knew that Hancock was caring about him. Fortunately, Tiger on the side felt something was wrong with Karen. He coughed lightly and reminded. Why don't you come down first? I think something is wrong with Mr. Lei Feng. After several reminders, Hancock still showed no response. Tiger gritted his teeth and reached out to touch Hancock's shoulder. Hancock seemed to sense something. She turned her head angrily and glared at Tiger, like a little milk dog protecting its food. Ahem. Something is not right with your Excellency Lei Feng. Let me check. Tiger scratched his head and said bravely, Is that so, Lord Lei Feng? Hancock's face softened slightly, and he looked at Karen with concern. It's a little heavy, Karen gasped and said with difficulty. Oh, I'm sorry, Master Lei Feng, I was too excited. Hancock's cheeks quickly became steamy, and then he reluctantly jumped off Karen's body, but still did not let go of his hand holding Karen's sleeve. Well, what should I do? Master Lei Feng seems to think I am too fat.
Hancock looked at his jade-white hands in distress, feeling uneasy in his heart.
Ahem, Tiger, how are they? Karen asked as she walked over. The plan went smoothly, except for some unlucky ones. Most of the slaves have left safely.
Advertisement. Tiger came to Karen's other side and helped Karen. Where's the stone sculpture? Karen glanced at Hancock. He remembered that in the original work, Blackbeard once went to Nine Snakes Island to seek Hancock's fruits, but his men were petrified by Hancock. Hancock threatened Blackbeard, and even if she dies, the petrification will not be lifted.
So, it should be fine if you encounter seawater. Tiger said. He is also very good, he is safely down there. Stop chatting now and leave quickly, Rayleigh reminded. Good, if you tell me about the other. Before Wachuli Sheng finished speaking, he was suddenly stunned. Because Rayleigh, who was originally surrounded by them, suddenly disappeared, as if he had never appeared. What's going on? The other 4 or 5 elders were equally shocked. On the other hand, Perusolino was thoughtful, with a faint smile on his lips. It turns out they have an accomplice. Perusolino said casually. What do you mean? St. Peter glanced at him. In this situation, they probably have a space user. Otherwise, how could Rayleigh disappear into thin air in front of the adults? Perusolino explained. I remember that Rayleigh doesn't have devil fruit abilities. The mastermind just now, Black Crow, the successor of the Golden Lion, doesn't seem to have this ability either, which means there's someone hiding in the dark helping them. There are all kinds of people with devil fruit abilities. There must be more than one person with such abilities listed in the illustrated book. I remember there are the door fruit, the transparent fruit, the fleshball fruit, the teleportation fruit, the mirror fruit. He reported several teleportation fruits in succession. That means Karen is not here, if you are here to complain about him. No, buddy, you are here to tell me the name of the dish. As a user with the fastest speed, I don't chase people, but instead chat with the 5 elders here. The key is that TMD 5 elders are still listening to it with gusto. They seem to have completely forgotten that Rayleigh and Karen ran away right under their noses. Those who didn't know thought they had captured Karen and the slaves. As he kept talking about the arrival of the new batch of CP0s, Perusolino felt that his mouth was dry and he stopped his analysis. Ahem. How about we rescue Saint Satan first? Chapter 162 Sun Pirates. Advertisement. The waters of the Sabodi Islands. In the calm sea, sprays of water suddenly arose. With a boom sound, several sea beasts poked their heads out from the deep sea. Their bodies are not huge. Well, compared to the bodies of Poseidons that can move hundreds of meters, they are not huge. There were several people from the mermaid tribe lying on their backs, who seemed to be calming their emotions. The mermaids themselves are the darlings of the sea, so they are naturally able to communicate with the creatures in the ocean and get help from them. Except, of course, the Poseidon class. Otherwise, the mermaid tribe would have ruled the world long ago. Several mermaids patted the heads of the sea beasts and whispered something in their ears. After a while, all these sea beasts opened their mouths. After a while, various groups began to come out of the mouths of these sea beasts. As expected of a mermaid, you can actually let me experience this kind of treatment. A man from the Changshu clan sighed. When these fishmen let them enter the mouths of these sea beasts, he was still afraid. If he hadn't clearly known that these fishmen were slaves who escaped from Marijoya with him, he would never have chosen to enter them. However, who made these fishmen their benefactors? When he jumped off the cliff of Marijoya without hesitation, he had already put life and death aside. Escaped? Really escaped? A snake-headed tribe in the distance looked up to the sky and cried bitterly, bursting into tears. Yes, we really came out. Another woman from the fur tribe shouted excitedly, her hands trembling. During these years as a slave, she had long been desperate. It was the people from Fishman Island who saved us. Another slave was wearing white wings, and he turned out to be a Sky Islander. Most of the slaves didn't know what was going on. They only knew that they could escape by following the people from Fishman Island. In fact, that was the case. The fishmen first picked them up from the cliff and then summoned sea beasts from the deep sea to take them away. Leave that cruel hell together. Thank you to Fishman Island. If you come to my place of use in the future, no matter how far it is, I will definitely help you. Long live Fishman Island, thank you Fishman Island. More and more shouts made the originally indifferent fish people feel a glimmer of warmth and hope. Advertisement. They have experienced a lot of discrimination in this sea area, which makes them very xenophobic. If Tiger, a celebrity from Fishman Island, wasn't here to command them, they wouldn't have helped these slaves. Of course, there is also a feeling of sympathy for each other. Now the thanks from these different races made them feel a sense of respect and understanding that they had not seen for a long time. This emotion slowly rose in the hearts of the fish people, breaking down the barriers in their hearts and making them realize that there was more than just estrangement and hostility between races. Tiger looked at this scene and felt a warm current in his heart. Isn't this what their Fishman Island needs? Your Highness Odahime is right. Only by understanding each other can we achieve true trust and respect. Thank you, Your Excellency Lei Feng. Tiger's tone was a little choked. He didn't expect that his long-cherished wish for many years would be realized at this moment. Although it was only part of it, it was enough to bring him deeper hope. You're welcome. These are the achievements of Fishman Island. Without Fishman Island, they wouldn't be able to run very far. Karen wanted to wave his hand, but found that Hancock was holding his arm tightly. That's right. If there was no Fishman Island, only a small number of these slaves would be able to escape. Rayleigh had a smile on his face. He had been to Fishman Island with Roger, and naturally he knew very well what Fishman Island really needed. Hey, it's a pity that life for slaves will not be easy in the future. Tiger sighed. There was really too much trouble tonight. Not only were slaves escaping, but what was even more terrifying was that more than one of the celestial dragons died. This will definitely lead to crazy revenge from the Tianlong people. Rayleigh asked. What are you going to do? Tiger said distressedly. I definitely can't go back to Fishman Island. Alas, I don't have a good place to go. I can only take one step at a time. I think you must go to Fishman Island. As a pirate, in this situation, the only way to survive is from Fishman Island to New World. In the blink of an eye, more than half of the slaves present chose to join. The surrounding slaves looked at each other with shock and excitement in their eyes. The hooves of the celestial dragon. Tiger's voice was low and firm, ringing a warning bell in everyone's heart. Then more people responded. Only unity and resistance can break this shame and usher in true freedom. Tiger smiled and said, Of course, but who told you that I am the captain? He is. Advertisement. Tiger glanced at Karen and wanted to say something, but was interrupted by a fishman. Tiger suddenly tore off his clothes, and a scarlet tattoo appeared in front of everyone's eyes. As he spoke, he pointed at Karen, who looked confused. It's broken, it's coming to me, but today, we must turn this shame into strength and the motivation for our resistance. A fishman asked aloud. Tiger's voice was clear and firm in the sea breeze, attracting everyone's attention. Fight for freedom, Boss Tiger, please say a few words. He continued. Each of us has experienced the same pain and despair. It is these experiences that make us understand each other's mood better. Today I finally realized that only by supporting each other and working together can we get rid of oppression and welcome the freedom. Dawn. A fishman shouted excitedly, and others agreed, and the atmosphere was instantly ignited. He continued, scanning every face, we will unite all races that have been treated unfairly, so that every oppressed soul can find belonging and strength. Because they also have this tattoo on their bodies. Everyone, today we are standing here. We should not only thank our Fishman Island, but we should also thank ourselves. It is precisely because we are unwilling to sink and have a heart to fight that we can leave here safely. Quote. I am willing to join. A young fishman stood up first, his voice excited and firm. Karen was thoughtful. He remembered that in the original work, the Sun Pirates were all fishmen. Tiger looked at Karen, who said calmly, This is an opportunity, isn't it? Karen suddenly spoke up and gave his opinion. All the slaves present held their breaths and looked heavy. This is the mark given to us by the Tianlong people. This is our shame. The Sun Pirates symbolize light and hope, because they understand that they actually have no other way out. The hooves of the heavenly dragons on their bodies are like invisible shackles, tightly binding their fate. I decided to establish the Sun Pirates today to resist oppression and pursue freedom. Seeing that Karen had already mentioned this, Tiger no longer hesitated. He nodded, cleared his throat and said in a deep voice. Me too. Depending on the situation, they are planning to recruit slaves of different races. I didn't expect Tiger, a guy with thick eyebrows and big eyes, to have such ambitions. Captain, since we are pirates, should we set up a pirate flag? Another fur tribe slave followed. Chapter 163 Return to Headquarters. Advertisement. One more. In the waters of the Sabodi archipelago, an unknown uninhabited island. Karen was eating crazily while holding a piece of barbecue that was larger than a human. In the blink of an eye, the piece of barbecue turned into a big stick bone. Rayleigh looked at this scene and fell into deep thought. Karen's eating posture reminded him of his captain. Too bad it's not you. Rayleigh sighed. Soon, Hancock pulled out a huge barbecue from the crowd and handed it to Karen. Karen took it and immediately started a new round of replenishment. After eating more than 10 such large pieces of barbecue, Karen gradually felt full. He touched his belly and burped. When his body exerted force, the food squeezed into his body was absorbed instantly. His body's strength has also returned to its original state. Master Lei Feng looks so charming when he is eating. Hancock looked at Karen with fascination. It's great to be young, Rayleigh said enviously. Your recovery ability is top-notch in the new world. Karen was still wearing clothes made of feathers and did not reveal his true appearance. He chuckled. It's all thanks to you that I can leave this time. I owe you a favor. Rayleigh raised her eyebrows with a smile on her face. That's wrong. I should be in debt to you. It's all thanks to you that I can leave, not to mention you helped me rescue her. Rayleigh looked at Hancock. She was still staring at Karen closely, smiling sometimes, shyly, not knowing what she was thinking. Ha ha ha. The two looked at each other and laughed. After a moment of silence, Rayleigh asked, Are you still ready to go back? Yes. It's very difficult to get out if you're caught in there. I know. Maybe leave. I still have family there. It's not easy to get him out of there. Karen slowly stood up and said in a deep voice. Okay, it's time for me to leave. What about him? Shaki pointed to the Jesse stone sculpture nearby. Please help me put him with you first. After I finish my work for a while, I will visit him personally. Okay. Shaki nodded. Wait. At this time, Rayleigh suddenly said. He walked towards Karen and handed him a life card. The pirate handed Marine the life card. This was really ridiculous. Advertisement. Karen gave a confused look. I probably won't be able to stay in the Sabodi Islands. This time the matter is huge and they will never let me stay there. Rayleigh explained. I'm sorry if it wasn't me. It's okay, it's just right. I rested for too long and my bones feel loose. Rayleigh stretched her body, and her bones made a thunderous sound. Do you want to come out again? That's not true. I'm old, I just want to change places. Where? New World, that's where we pirates should stay. What? Mary Joa was invaded. The slaves fled en masse. The Dracos died. Warring States held the phone bug with a look of shock on his face. Any one of these things would be breaking news, but on this ordinary night, they happened at the same time. The leader calls himself the heir of Golden Lion Shiki, Black Crow Lei Feng. He also has a close relationship with Pluton Rayleigh? Warring States frowned, and there was a wave of excitement in his heart. The news was so shocking that he couldn't believe it. Hidden appearance? Conquerors? Swordsmen? Then he thought of something and made a phone call. Moxie, this is Zephyr. A tired voice came from the phone, a bit sleepy, and it was obvious that he had just woken up from a deep sleep. I am Sengoku. Zephyr sat up from the bed with a start, his face completely devoid of sleepiness. Based on his understanding of the Warring States period, something important must have happened. What's wrong? The other party fell into silence, and Zephyr asked again. What happened? You can tell me. Ahem, it's actually just a small thing. Warring States coughed lightly. Little things? Gaba. Zephyr hung up the phone. Zongguo was startled, and then smiled bitterly. This old B***************. There was no other way, so Warring States called again for the sake of his guests. I know you arranged Karen next door to you. Please help me see if Karen is at home. After getting through, Warring States' gate of opening got straight to the point and stated his needs directly. Karen? Zephyr looked puzzled and thoughtful. Didn't he follow Brusolino to look for Vegapunk? Advertisement. Don't pretend to me. I don't believe you don't know he's back. Moreover, the conquerors distributed in the family home during the day must be his. Warring States said angrily. Karen, Zephyr shouted, and then walked quickly to Karen's bedroom. Yes. Turn on the lights and the bed is empty. Warring States said seriously. I don't have time to talk nonsense with you. Go and have a look. This is your mission. At this moment, a familiar voice appeared at the door. Karen, are you in there? There was silence for a moment, no response from inside. Zephyr also heard the sense of urgency from Warring States. He stopped making jokes, grabbed the phone bug, put on his clothes and walked towards Karen's room. Warring States also heard Karen's voice. He slowly exhaled and reminded. The room was dark, with only the faint moonlight shining through, illuminating the empty interior. He raised his voice. Let's talk about old times tomorrow. Now you two come to my office quickly. He came to Karen's door and knocked lightly a few times. He breathed a sigh of relief and asked. Zephyr turned around and saw Karen with a smile on her face. Good boy, you just ate it behind my back when you came back, right? Karen held a pheasant and said with a smile. No way, I haven't prepared any gifts. I want to catch a game first and send it to you tomorrow. Isn't Karen here? No, Karen is. Zephyr muttered. For such a small thing, you called me in the middle of the night. Don't you know it's hard for the elderly to sleep? Go out and have a tooth festival. What have you been doing? Teacher Zephyr. After a pause, Zephyr said doubtfully, no, why are you asking me if Karen is here? Why don't you just call him? Zephyr swallowed his saliva and answered with difficulty. For no reason, he also felt nervous. Zephyr pretended to be dumbfounded. I don't know that. I'm so busy with work, how can I have time to care about conquerors or not? Still no response, Zephyr felt uneasy and pushed the door directly in. Zephyr walked all the way to Karen's room, constantly thinking about what Sang-Guo said just now. What happened? Why Sang-Guo wanted to know Karen's whereabouts so urgently? Zfa's heart tightened. Warring States said in a deep voice. You don't need to know this, you just need to help me see if he is there. The two of them started chatting. The face of Sang-Guo, the other end of the phone bug, doesn't look good either. Are those really? Why are you here? Chapter 164 Discussion Advertisement. Well done. Zephyr slapped his thigh and said excitedly. Warring State's face was full of black lines and he shouted angrily, Zephyr. Zephyr didn't care. He even lit a cigar and whispered, that's right. I've seen it a long time ago. Don't forget who you are. Warring States immediately interrupted Zephyr, who was muttering quietly, and glared at him. What is my identity? I only know that before first I'm a Marine, I am a human being first. Zephyr retorted, this is something that the Tianlong people did wrong in the first place. Black Crow, right? He has rescued so many slaves, and we still want to arrest him. This is wrong. Karen glanced at Zephyr in surprise. He didn't expect that Zephyr could see this clearly so clearly. He was worthy of being a Z hero. Not to be outdone, Warring States raised his tone to a higher level. It doesn't matter what you said, right? The Black Crow is too dangerous to the world. We cannot allow an uncontrollable dangerous element to be active on the sea. This matter must be explained to the Tianlong people. Is it dangerous to the world or dangerous to world government? Unexpectedly, Zephyr didn't appreciate it. He also stared at Warring States, but his tone was not so high. I know that you are the agent of Fleet Admiral and you have to consider the entire Marine, but if something is right, it is right, and if something is wrong, it is wrong. I don't think I need to listen to this meeting. Anyway, I am just an instructor, and I will not go out to sea to catch him. Zephyr stood up, glanced around, and prepared to leave. Warring States wanted to stop him, but thinking of his old friend's character, he finally didn't ask to stay. Zephyr looked at Karen and asked him with his eyes. Karen shook his head and indicated that he would stay and listen. This was a plan against him. How could he, the rightful owner, leave? No matter how wise you were during the Warring States period, you would never have imagined that the so-called Black Crow would openly listen to your plans here. Karen knew that Sengoku was already very sharp, but Sengoku ignored how fast Karen was growing. In addition, Marijoya is not far from Marineland. It's not a problem for Karen, who has the ability to catch birds, to go back and forth in 10 minutes. Seeing this, Zephyr thought for a while and sat back down. Warring States glanced at him. Why don't you leave? Aren't you not interested? Zephyr spit out a circle. It's not enough to just listen. I'll just stop talking. Ahem, that's the situation anyway. Advertisement. Warring States was choked and brought the topic back again. Guion was also in the office. She cautiously approached Karen and whispered. Okay, if you don't tell me when you come back, we won't be friends anymore. This is not just back. Karen was about to prevaricate, but was interrupted by Guion's actions. She stretched out her nose, smelled Karen's body, and said in a disgusting tone. Okay, no wonder you had to inform me. It turns out you went to steal something. Karen thought of Hancock being close to him, and his face froze. No, eldest sister, aren't you Momosagi? Why do you have such a sharp nose? Karen felt that she needed to defend herself. I didn't. Tell me, what's delicious to eat? Did you smell the food on me? Karen breathed a sigh of relief. Ahem, I'm greedy. I'll call you tomorrow. I just shot a pheasant. Zephyr looked at Karen resentfully. Staff officer, he had been deep in thought since she came in. Seeing that Zephyr was not making a fuss, she quietly spoke. The Tianlong people are dead. The situation is not easy to handle. Warring States sighed. Oh, Perusalino has already gone after them, but it's a pity that those people disappeared out of thin air. They should have been dragged into the deep sea by the fishmen. Warring States was indeed a wise general, and he easily understood how the slaves left. In the deep sea, even Perusalino, who ate the shining fruit, cannot determine their location. Uda's voice came from outside the door, breaking Karen's thoughts. Yes, that's what I'm afraid of. Uda has grown up again. Do you miss me? I'm sorry, I didn't. Karen held a lifecard and was stunned. Karen. Staff officer, he thought for a while. Isn't Rayleigh's whereabouts in the Sabodi Islands? You can go to him and have a look. Advertisement, already contacted them, but as you know, Fishman Island does not often contact the outside world after all. In addition, a large part of the slaves' origins are from Fishman Island, so it is probably unknown. When Zephyr heard Jess's name, he was slightly startled. Then, he sighed and walked to Karen.
Karen put the life card back in his pocket and turned to look out the door. If you want to protect all of this, you can't rely on just one person.
The next day, early morning, Paluzolino has been sent, but there is a high probability that he will not be caught. Uda, slow down, Karen won't leave just after she comes back. It's not your fault. I understand everything. Karen interrupted, this is the life card that Rayleigh gave him. The life card is the same size as when Rayleigh gave it to him, and has not shrunk in any way. This means that Rayleigh and his party are safe now. Everything seems so warm and cozy. Uda was running in front, and Zephyr was looking at her with a smile from behind. Karen knelt down and held Uda in his arms. Wait, it'll be there soon. Sengoku pressed his head with a headache. Uda kissed Karen on the face and smiled innocently. Of course, I also miss Sister Delika and Uncle Jesse. I need more like-minded partners. Sengoku frowned, knowing that neither Big Mom, Kaido, Ochaku, nor Whitebeard would let Marine search for traces of slaves in the New World. However, only Karen understood that when he chose to save the slaves, he was already passively standing at the front. Warring States continued, there is no other way now but to wait. With such a large number of people, their position will be exposed. A spring-like smile appeared on Karen's face, but the surrounding air became a bit colder. Staff officer, he reminded, the most troublesome thing now is that they will go to the New World from the passage of Fishman Island. We are not like those in the other 4 seas in the first half of the Grand Line. If they successfully enter the New World, I am afraid there is nothing we Marine can do. Don Quixote Doflamingo. Karen sighed inwardly. Staff officer, he continued to ask, where is Fishman Island? Zephyr reminded with a smile. Chapter 165 Kuzan Advertisement. Do you like it? Karen looked at Uda, who looked surprised, and asked softly. Uda stared at the dancing elf in the music box, her eyes twinkling with little stars. Yeah, I like it, she is so beautiful. Karen gently stroked Uda's head, with a look of doting in his eyes. As long as you like it, this is a gift from your grandfather. He will be very happy to know that you like it. I like it very much. She can also sing. Uda's eyes were wide open, and her face was filled with joy. Zephyr was also very happy. With this, he no longer had to hold on and sing for Uda. Thinking of Uda's disgusted eyes, Zephyr felt resentful. Zephyr approached Karen and asked softly, what are you going to do? What to do? Karen looked at Zephyr in confusion. Zephyr rolled his eyes. As for last night's discussion, you wouldn't really go after the Black Crow, would you? Karen gave a wry smile, thinking of last night's discussion. The result was to wait, but Sengoku issued a one-person mission to the lieutenant generals at the headquarters to search for traces of slaves in the waters near G1 and Marineland. Although Karen is only a major general now, Karen has a record of defeating 2 captains of the Whitebeard pirates on his own. He is already on the verge of being promoted to lieutenant general. And as the future base commander of G1, he must accept this task both emotionally and rationally. Karen said calmly, what else can I do? Of course I have to execute it. Chase yourself. Why not go for it? Zephyr glanced at Karen in surprise and reminded. Then be careful, the Black Crow is not easy to deal with. I saw the photos from Mary Joa, and even I am not sure that I can capture him. What's more, there's Rayleigh next to him. If I had known, I should have contacted the headquarters to arrest him first. Fortunately you didn't arrest him, otherwise I would have been miserable. Karen groaned inwardly. Thinking of Rayleigh, ZFA's expression was a little complicated, and he continued. But I didn't expect that as a pirate, he would do such a thing. This should be our Marine's responsibility. Sometimes I really think, forget it, anyway, just be careful. Do you really want to leave Marine? But in the original work, even if you were in despair, you didn't leave, you just established a new Marine. Seeing Zephyr so nervous, Karen felt a little funny, so he nodded seriously. I know, I will. Advertisement, is Karen leaving again?
Yuta shifted her gaze from the music box to Karen, her tone low.
But she quickly adjusted. During the 2 years in Donghai, she had long been accustomed to Karen frequently going out to perform tasks. When I grow up, I will also help Karen catch pirates. She secretly made up her mind and pouted, saying. Then when you come back next time, remember to bring delicious food to Uda.
I know, little greedy cat. Karen pinched Yuta's nose. Ahem, there's me too. Old Zephyr blushed and smiled awkwardly.
Ever since he ate the food made by Karen, he understood what delicious food in the world meant. Although it had serious side effects, it tasted so good. Ha ha ha, why wait until next time, you can do it now. Holy Land, Marie Joya. Karen and a group of Marines landed on the Red Earth continent. Unlike pirates who have to take risks to set off from Fishman Island, Marines can directly cross the Red Earth continent through application and arrive directly from Marijoya to the New World.
This is not only safer, but also much faster than going from Fishman Island.
Not only Marines, but also some nobles and wealthy people use this method to travel to the New World. Of course, this also has disadvantages, that is, only people can pass through, and ships can only be repurchased in New World. And not everyone is qualified to come to Mariayo, and it takes a long time to apply. But because you have to assist the world government in hunting down slaves, the application process is very fast. Since when has Marie Joy been so cold? Huo Shaoshan tightened his clothes. As a lieutenant general of his headquarters, he came to Marie Joy many times, but every time he came, it was like spring all year round. Today, Marie Joy rarely made him feel cold. Look there, Jiaji exclaimed, as if he had seen something extraordinary.
Everyone looked in the direction of Jiaji's finger.
In the cold morning light, a corner of Marie Joy was covered with ice.
The towering buildings are covered with a thick layer of ice, like silent giants, standing on the frozen streets, looking solemn and terrifying.
Just looking at that mass of ice can feel the slightest chill. Huo Shaoshan took a deep breath. Advertisement, how fierce is this battle, that it can turn Marie Joy into this? It's terrible. The temperature here is astonishingly low. Is this what the Black Crow is capable of? Jiaji stared at the frozen city with a solemn expression. Ghost Spider secretly pointed at Kuzan, who was meditating beside him, and joked with a smile.
If the intelligence hadn't said that Black Crow is a great swordsman, I would really doubt that it was your masterpiece.
Kuzan still had two big dark circles in his eyes, as if he hadn't slept well. He spread his hands and said helplessly. Please forgive me. The Warring States General interrogated me all night last night. Hey, if the other party hadn't used ice, I wouldn't have bothered to get involved in this matter. Ha ha ha. Ghost Spider laughed awkwardly and said seriously. To be honest, this ability is really terrifying. Can you do it? Kuzan spoke in a relaxed tone and said with a smile, it's possible, but it's difficult. Hey, you are really a monster. The surrounding lieutenants took a deep breath and looked sideways at Kuzan. Although it was difficult for him to say it, his tone was very relaxed. Haha. If I hadn't read the original work, I would really believe it. Karen thought secretly. He had used all his strength to get such a small freezing effect. He was not sure how long it would last. But in the original work, Kuzan completely changed the ecology of an island by himself. It has been maintained for 2.5 years with no intention of thawing. He is Kuzan, and like you, he is teacher ZFA's most proud student. The one standing next to Karen was naturally Gion. She used the best. There was no one here who was not a student of Zepha, but there were only a few people who could be called the best. Karen pretended to be surprised and said, I see, no wonder I felt a chill emanating from him a long time ago. Kuzan also noticed Karen, and he also knew something about Karen. His two teachers, Zepha and Garp, both spoke highly of Karen. However, he did not go over to say hello, but gave Karen a kind smile. Slothful justice. Karen saw a hint of confusion and sadness in Kuzan's eyes. He was originally supposed to be burning justice. Karen was moved, thinking that Kuzan would choose to become a pirate for the sake of justice in his heart. Maybe he's the partner I'm looking for. Chapter 166 Lord I Am. Advertisement under the guidance of a CP, Karen and a group of Marine Lieutenant Generals slowly walked into Mary Joa. This is Karen's second time here, and she didn't expect it to come so quickly. Compared to the last time he stole it at night, Karen felt that Mary Joa was worthy of the name of the Holy Land this time. The first thing that struck Karen was that it was big. The dense buildings tower into the clouds, giving off a sense of nobility and majesty. Karen was glad that everything went smoothly last time, otherwise it would have taken a long time just to get out. The streets were full of agents from the CP organization, who were busy repairing the ashes left by the fire rats. I have to say that these CP agents are really versatile. Whether it is moving bricks or applying putty, they can do it in style without any delay. Karen looked at it with interest for a while. The burned house in front of him had almost been repaired. This is the masterpiece of the fire rat in one night. It's really hard for it to do such a thing in one night. Karen was a little amused when he thought about the firefighting rat he had assigned to perform the task. He originally just asked it to light a fire, telling it that it would give it something delicious to eat, but he didn't expect it to work so hard. Karen glanced at the excited Gion calmly. Why are there so many delicious people around me? As for the fire rat, Karen originally intended to wait for a while and pick it up secretly at night, but she didn't expect that she would come to Mary Joa again today. Karen didn't care much about its safety. After all, who would suspect a mouse? I don't know where that guy is hiding. It's not easy to get out of the current situation. What are you thinking about? At this time, Gion pulled his sleeve and asked curiously. Karen replied casually, nothing, I was just thinking how spectacular it is here. Haha, after all, this is where the celestial dragons live. Gion didn't care. Everyone, the front is where the battle took place last night. The adults want you to go over and have a look. CP, who was leading the way, said coldly. His attitude was very cold, as if he didn't take these lieutenant generals seriously at all. Although they and Marine are both world government organizations. But in their perception, only CP is the organization closest to God. As for Marine, he is just a member of the village.
Only those who serve the celestial dragons are the true masters.
Advertisement. The Marines didn't care about his attitude either. Huo Shaoshan said calmly, lead the way, damn you little devil. Saint Satan threw a toast to the ground, no longer as calm as before. He didn't expect that he would be hurt by a bug in the shadow. If Perusolino hadn't arrived in time, he would have even been killed by the insect. Enough. Saint Nisholong patted the table and said seriously. This is not a place for you to vent your emotions. The current task is to find the Black Crow, Lei Feng and Pluton Rayleigh and send them all to hell in order to wash away our shame. Damn it. Saint Satan clenched his fists. He seemed to have thought of something and said loudly. And the Golden Lion, Shiki, I want him dead. Let's talk about this later. Your Excellency wants to see us, Saint Wechuli reminded. Mentioning that adult, the faces of everyone present became heavy. I didn't expect that this matter would alarm Lord I Am. Saint Peter slowly stood up, and the other 5 elders also stood up from their seats, and then all knelt down. The next moment, their vision went dark, and they appeared in front of a huge throne again. This is the empty throne. It is the deepest place in the holy city of Mary Wapan. The entire space is filled with an ancient and solemn atmosphere, making people feel endless majesty and oppression. All the 5 elders lowered their heads and even breathed carefully, for fear of disturbing the God on the throne. I heard there's a big commotion outside. A deep voice sounded from the throne, as if it penetrated time and space, struck directly into the soul, and brought an invisible pressure. The voice was not loud, so I couldn't tell whether it was a man or a woman. Yes, Lord I Am. The 5 elders called him respectfully in unison, with fear and respect in their tone. But please don't worry, we can solve it. It's best this way. You have never let me down in all these years. I hope you can settle this matter as soon as possible. I'm referring to the emotions of the celestial dragons. Lord I Am continued. His voice was like ice, otherwise, I wouldn't mind replacing a group of capable people. You should know that there are many people who want to be in this position. Advertisement, we will find the person behind it as soon as possible and stabilize the situation. Saint Wechuli hurriedly added, trying to divert Lord Im's attention. We have sent CP agents and Marines to investigate in depth and make sure to put this matter to rest. I Am said softly, and fell into silence. After a while, he said. This matter is not very important. What is important is that the fruit has appeared. Find it. Also, the guy last night is not that person, please step aside. Yes. As the 5 elders slowly retreated, silence fell once again around the throne. Im's eyes penetrated the darkness, and he didn't know what he was thinking. What are you thinking about? Ghost Spider patted Kuzan on the shoulder and asked. Kuzan came back to his senses, with a faint smile on his face, but did not speak. Ghost Spider curled his lips, TCH, he is such a cold guy. Just then, a CP0 wearing a cat face mask came over. Are you Kuzan? He first looked at Kuzan carefully, and then slowly approached. His posture seemed a bit arrogant. Kuzan nodded and replied calmly. Yes. CP0 in the cat face mask said calmly. The adults want to see you. Kuzan nodded again, agreeing. Then, he followed in the footsteps of CP0 and left together. After they left, Ghost Spider couldn't help but whisper. Damn it, is this suspicion of Kuzan? Huo Shaoshan patted his shoulder gently, smiled and comforted. Don't worry, nothing will happen. Sure enough, not long after, Kuzan came back alone. His expression remained the same as before, his expression unchanged, as if what just happened was just an ordinary meeting. Okay, let's go. Just when Karen was about to leave, a system prompt suddenly came from his mind. Ding, the goal has been achieved and you will get a chance to win a lottery. Chapter 167 The God of BGM Advertisement. Karen was stunned. This is? Does the reputation gained by hiding one's identity count as one's own reputation? With a thought, he opened the system interface in his mind. Target reputation. 10,068,465 100 millionths. Possessing skills. Unparalleled skills, 100% chance of being caught with nothing. Gourmet, fisherman, advertising master. Have one chance to draw. In just one night, Karen's reputation value, which was not jumping very much, was jumping up to 1,000 per second. It is enough to see how much shock this incident has brought to people in this world. Unknowingly, Karen's reputation has exceeded the 100 million mark, and the next time he reaches the goal, it will become a terrifying 1 billion. Karen didn't know how the value of the reputation system was calculated. If it were based on population, it would only be able to complete the target twice at most with this momentum. There aren't many times left for the leave a Karen draw. However, Karen doesn't care. Now he is far less eager for the system's rewards than when he first came to this world. Even if he doesn't use his abilities now, he is still at the level of a lieutenant general or above. Already a leader in this world. But who would think that he has few skills? Without hesitation, Karen directly chose the lottery. His past experience told him that the lottery would not cause any commotion from the outside world. Washing hands and burning incense will not add any bonus to the lottery items. After all, his system is different from those in other novels. He is not smart at all, except for a lottery option, and there are no systems such as stores and tasks. Ding! Congratulations on winning the BGM God. The system's voice is still cold and colorless. Karen has long been used to it. What ability is this? Karen had a headache. Apart from the detailed explanation of the unparalleled skills at the beginning and the 100% chance of being picked up empty-handed, the skills he acquired later needed to be explored by himself. It sounds like it has something to do with music. It can't be such a coincidence. Just after giving Uda a music box, he gave me an ability related to music. Do you want me to change from a chef to a musician? Karen thought of Uda, and now they really have a musical family. Resisting the urge to show off his singing voice now, Karen and a group of Marine lieutenants slowly left Marijoa.
At this moment, an exclamation alerted all the Marines who were about to leave.
Karen looked in the direction of the sound and saw a CP who was cleaning the street saying angrily, "Damn it! Why are there rats in Marijoa? Quick, catch it, don't let it disturb the adults who are traveling for a while." Another CP shouted loudly, "Advertisement!" So all the CPs put down their tools and started chasing the round white mouse. The mouse ran nimbly on the street, and its white figure shuttled in the dark corners, looking extremely agile. The target direction is the Marines who are preparing to leave. Cracking. The bird standing on Karen's shoulder suddenly turned into a figure about the same size as an eagle and swooped down towards the mouse. It was so fast that even the chasing CPs did not react. Guhunyao took the white hamster running this way in its mouth. Then, he swallowed the hamster under the watchful eyes of everyone present. Then it turned into the size of a sparrow and flew back to Karen's shoulder. Ahem, I'm sorry, everyone, it's greedy. I apologize for any offense. Karen smiled apologetically, stretched out her hand and tapped the tip of Gu Huonyao's mouth.
Gu Huonyao looked innocent. HMPH, be careful next time and take care of your pets.
The leader CP said fiercely. Fortunately, no Tianlong people saw it, otherwise wouldn't it mean that they don't have a useful pet yet? With this sentence left, all the CPs were busy with their own affairs. Karen didn't care, took out a cigarette from his coat pocket and lit it slowly. New World, at the foot of the Red Earth continent. There is a bustling port. Port Topman. This is the port where the celestial dragons build purpose-built ships and warships in Marijoa. 70% of New World's ships are built here. It is said that this is run by a famous family among the Tianlong people. So the security here is very good. Topman Harbor is a very lively place, with ships coming in and out frequently, and a sea breeze blowing with the smell of salt. Around the port, there are many shops selling all kinds of goods. Businessmen from different places trade here and sell at the top of their lungs. Sir, do you need a boat? I have a wide variety of boats here and the prices are reasonable. A vendor warmly greeted everyone coming off the elevator with a flattering smile on his face. His voice was particularly loud in the noisy port, attracting the attention of many people around him. Ha ha ha, old buck, are you stupid? They are Marines, how could they be interested in your ship? Yeah, Buck, why are you taking the business to Marine? The crowd roared with laughter. Old Buck scratched his head and finally saw the identity of the person in front of him. He laughed and bowed to Marine. Advertisement, I'm sorry, my lords, it's my old eyesight that is dim. When he was about to leave, Kuzan stopped him. Wait a minute, do you have a bicycle here? Old Buck was stunned for a moment, and then the wrinkles on his face bloomed like chrysanthemums. Yes. Yes. What kind of one do you want? It's ordinary, as long as you can ride it. The ghost spider muttered dissatisfiedly. Hey, Kuzan, what do you mean? Kuzan stretched, yawned, and said casually, sorry, everyone, I want to go alone. Huo Shaoshan frowned. This isn't very good. Kuzan got on Old Buck and pushed the bicycle over, handed Bailey to him, and said with a smile. Don't worry, I will explain it to Warring States. Huo Shaoshan sighed and nodded. Oh well. Karen thought for a while, and then he stood up and said, well, I also want to act alone. He looked apologetic and added without waiting for Huo Shaoshan to ask. It's like this. I recently got a flying pet. It's faster than a warship and has a much better field of vision, which is more conducive to searches. As he spoke, he pointed to the Guhuo bird on his shoulder. The bird stretched out its wings and turned into the size of the hamster it had just captured, with a pair of bright eyes. Flying, I'm so envious. Huo Shaoshan sighed. He pondered for a moment and nodded. Yes, but the opponent is very powerful. Don't take action easily after you see the target. Remember to contact us first. Okay, I won't take action, Karen answered confidently. Guillaume's eyes lit up as he stood beside him, and he whispered. How about you take me with you? I also want to see your new abilities. Karen said with some embarrassment, however, it can only grow so big now and cannot bear the weight of 2 people. Guillaume looked at the bird, and saw that it was indeed not very big. He looked sadly. Okay then, be careful. Before Karen could answer, Jia on the side interrupted. How about the 2 of us act together? Roll, okay. Chapter 168 Jinbei joins advertisement. Is this the new world? It feels no different from the waters of Fishman Island. The one who spoke was one of the slaves who left with Tiger. Boss, do we really want to take risks here? Jinbei frowned slightly. After entering Fishman Island, Tiger went to the palace alone to briefly explain a few words. The main thing is to tell His Majesty Neptune what happened in Marijoa last night. Let Neptune control the residents of Fishman Island. Don't let the Murlocs leave the Murloc Island during this period of time. There were slaves escaping in Marijoya, which meant that the celestial dragons would definitely recapture new slaves. When meeting Neptune, Jinbei happened to be here. He was very angry when he heard what happened to Tiger. He didn't expect that his big brother had lived such a miserable life in these years. In anger, he decided to leave Fishman Island with Tiger and go to the New World. Not only him, but half of the unruly Murlocs living in Fishman Street chose to go to sea with Tiger. They only served Tiger. Not even King Neptune's orders were obeyed. Time goes back to before Tiger entered Fishman Island. In the Palace of Dragon Palace. Sitting in the first seat were naturally Neptune and Princess Odahime, and next to them was the fishman Jinbei. Tiger half knelt in front of Neptune and told him all about his experiences and his warnings to Fishman Island. Princess Odahime looked sad, and she could feel Tiger's pain and his longing for the future. I didn't expect World Noble to be so ugly. Sorry, Tiger, we can't sue the world government for your pain. Tiger looked normal. He knew the plight of Fishman Island better than anyone present. If you fall behind, you will be beaten. This is what my friend told me. If we want Fishman Island to get out of trouble, we must have means to deter the world government. Princess Odahime said slowly, force cannot bring true peace. But force can give Fishman Island a stronger voice. Tiger interrupted, his eyes firm. He knew that the situation on Fishman Island was not simple. In the face of the oppression of the world government, peace and compromise alone could not change the status quo. Princess Odahime sighed slightly, with worry on her face. I understand what you mean, but we cannot ignore the possible consequences of force. In history, many countries have perished due to excessive reliance on force. Tiger nodded, understanding her concerns. Advertisement. I'm not advocating blind war, but when facing powerful enemies, we need to have enough power to protect ourselves. Only in this way can Fishman Island gain true independence and dignity. Princess Odahime's eyes moved slightly, but she stopped talking. But how do we gain such power? Neptune interjected, doubt and uneasiness in his tone. Although we fishmen are generally more powerful than humans, our technological power is far inferior to humans, and the strong humans even have the power to destroy the Fishman Island by one person. He had seen Roger and Garp fight with his own eyes, and knew that it was not difficult for a truly strong person to destroy Fishman Island. They might be able to escape by being sad in the deep sea, but the Fishman Island is right here. It has no legs and naturally cannot move. This is the last pure land of fish people and mermaids. There was no way they were going to give up on this place. Tiger showed a wry smile. To be honest, I don't know, but there is a truly strong man among humans around us. I will worship him as my teacher and let him teach me the power that can truly defend Fishman Island. Neptune was thoughtful and asked, who is it? Pluton Rayleigh. It's him. He is indeed a truly strong person among the human race. I also believe in his character. You know him? Yes, he once came to Fishman Island with One Piece Roger. He was the vice captain of the Roger Pirates. Neptune looked back with a look of reminiscence on his face, remembering his past experiences. He still remembered that Roger had visited the holy land of Fishman Island and established a very strong friendship with Fishman Island. Maybe for the sake of this relationship, Rayleigh will really give away what he has learned. Princess Odahime suddenly interrupted and said, are you saying that the slaves who left with you respect Fishman Island? Tiger nodded, yes. Princess Odahime's eyes lit up. She stared into Tiger's eyes and asked anxiously. Those slaves were of different races. Tiger didn't know why and nodded again. Yes, there are fur tribes, snakehead tribes, longhand tribes, and many other races that I don't know. Princess Odahime got the answer she wanted and murmured. No, it shouldn't be Karen. Then she seemed to think of something and asked again. You said the person who came to rescue you was very mysterious? Advertisement, yes. What's his name? Tiger was hesitant and thought for a while. Mr. Lei Feng's identity would definitely not be hidden after tonight. His name is Lei Feng, Black Crow, Lei Feng. I heard he is the inheritor of the Golden Lion Shiki. Princess Odahime murmured in a low voice, Lei Feng? Lei Feng? Could it be you, Mr. Cullen? It took a long time for her to come back to her senses from her meditation. Okay, Tiger, I agree with you. Tiger's mind was moved, and when he saw Princess Odahime's sudden change of attitude, he vaguely felt that Princess Odahime must know something else that he didn't know. When did it start? Lei Feng? No, it started earlier, with slaves of different races. After thinking for a long time, he had no idea. Whatever, that's a good thing. Princess Odahime continued. If you need help from Fishman Island, just ask, we will try our best to help you. Tiger shook his head slowly, then straightened his face and said seriously. No, Princess, starting from today, I, Tiger, will completely cut off all ties with Fishman Island. Do we really want to cut off contact with Fishman Island? Jinbei looked puzzled. Yes, Jinbei, it's still too late to withdraw now, but it will be very dangerous when you are exposed. Tiger smiled. No, I'm not afraid of danger, boss, let's get started. Jinbei lifted up his clothes, revealing his blue skin. Tiger is holding a red-hot iron. The red color of the iron is very eye-catching because it represents the sun and hope. I'll ask you one last time, have you really thought about it? Jinbei did not hesitate at all and answered decisively. I am willing to join the Sun Pirates, Deputy Captain. Chapter 169 Isolated Island Advertisement, Violent. In the vast sky, a huge black bird is soaring, its wings spread like clouds, passing over the sky, making a low chirping sound. Also sitting above it was a young man wearing a marine uniform.
He held a white life card and followed its guidance to fly into the depths of the new world.
After a period of flight, the blackbird gradually lowered its altitude and finally stopped on an isolated island. Karen took a deep breath, turned over and jumped off the bird. Is this right here? He murmured, and then nodded to the guhuo bird. The guhuo bird turned into a ball of black energy surrounding Karen's body. A pair of black wings grew out of Karen's body. Karen once again transformed into the black crow, Lei Feng's body. Appearance. Follow the guidance and slowly walk towards the depths of this island. After a while, a person from the Longlegs tribe discovered him first. Who? He looked wary. Karen glanced at him, and the man breathed a sigh of relief when he saw Karen's appearance clearly. Captain? Karen sighed in his heart and said coldly. I'm not your captain. Got a captain. Where's Rayleigh? Inside, I'll take you with me. After walking a few steps, Karen heard the conversation between Shaki and Hancock. When this matter is over, I will contact Nine Snake Island to take you back. No, I want to go with Lord Lei Feng. Shaki sighed slightly and said seriously. Why do you think you can follow Lei Feng? Is it just based on your current strength as a three-legged cat? Hancock bit his lip and slowly lowered his head. Shaki continued, if something happens, it's better for Lei Feng to be distracted from protecting you. Who said that? I have the power of devil fruit. I can petrify enemies. Hancock pointed at the petrified Jesse and raised his fist. Really? Shaki sneered and said with disdain, then you use the power of the devil fruit on me now and let me see your strength.
Don't regret it. Advertisement. Stop talking nonsense and hurry up.
Hancock gritted his teeth, made a loving gesture with his hands, and shouted softly. Sweet and sweet wind. The love ray shot toward Shaki, who stood motionless and let the light fall on him. After a full 5 seconds, Shaki showed no signs of being petrified.
Haha, is this the power of the devil fruit you mentioned?
Shaki sneered. How is that possible? Hancock couldn't believe it. Then, she touched her lips lightly with her finger, transforming it into a huge pink heart shape, and then pulled it back like a bow and arrow, shooting out a large number of pink arrows. Jesse was petrified by this move, captive arrow. Dense arrows were fired at Shaki, but Shaki still didn't hide. She wandered among the pink arrows like a perfectly fine person. When your hockey is strong enough, the power of devil fruit will be ineffective. The famous educator, Mr. Kaido, once said, only domineering power can surpass everything. Shaki slowly walked towards Hancock, stretched out his fingers and tapped her belly gently. You see, the power you think is useless in front of the truly strong. She gently stroked Hancock's hair and comforted her in a low voice. When you return to Nine Snakes Island, someone will teach you how to cultivate domineering power. Believe me, you will definitely have the strength to follow Lei Feng in the future. When that time comes, you can choose whatever you want. Even if you use the entire Nine Snakes Island as a dowry, I have no problem with it. Hancock raised his head with tears in his eyes. Am I really capable of helping Lord Lei Feng? Don't worry, I believe you. Hancock beamed. Okay, when I go back, I will definitely give the entire Nine Snakes Island to Lord Lei Feng. Shaki rolled his eyes. He looked at Hancock speechlessly, which was not necessary. Ahem. What are you talking about? At this time, Karen came over and interrupted the conversation between the two. Shaki sighed in his heart and said with a smile. Rayleigh smiled and said, haha, go over there and say it. What are you doing? Karen took the barbecue and said calmly, I have been ordered to arrest you. Advertisement. Karen said, are you going to use Whitebeard's power? Hancock turned his head and looked at Shaki fiercely. Karen doesn't understand this, so she doesn't understand why Rayleigh is so confident. Haha, brother Lei Feng, you came earlier than I thought. Roger pirates. Hiding in Tibet? Hancock's cheeks turned red and he quickly ran towards Karen, trying to grab Karen's hand, but Shaki stretched out his arm to stop him. But this is a non-magnetic island, but even though it's small, it shouldn't be difficult to find. Whitebeard and Linlin will not let the world government operate in their territory. This kind of search will not last long. Ha ha ha, don't worry. The situation in New World is more complicated than you think. This is a paradise for pirates. Whether it's CP or Marine, it will be difficult for them to find us who want to hide. Hancock looked at Karen and asked quietly, is that so? This isolated island is not big, much smaller than any island Karen has been to. Guess whether I believe it or not. Rayleigh continued, actually, this place is pretty good. If there were no lifeguards, I don't think you would be able to find us. Karen nodded. I guess you are not here as a warship. This island was discovered by my captain when we were hiding from the Marines. It doesn't look special except that it is smaller. Oh, silly girl, it's not good to be too proactive. This reminds me of many years ago, when we were like this, hiding here and there in the New World. It was such a happy time. Rayleigh tossed a piece of barbecue to Karen. Seeing Karen's serious face, Rayleigh thought he was worried about his group and comforted him with a smile. After getting away from the crowd, Karen gate of opening sees the mountain. Whitebeard will take action. This matter is not trivial. Karen's mouth twitched slightly. Rayleigh answered resolutely, I will definitely do it. I believe Whitebeard will definitely sell the Roger pirates a piece of cake. Rayleigh smiled enigmatically, his eyes showed the light of reminiscence. Lei Feng should have something important to tell Rayleigh, so let's not disturb him yet. I don't know. If it really comes to that, I will. I'm not a rigid person. If I encounter danger, I will definitely ask Whitebeard for help. Individualism is not advisable. Your situation is very dangerous now. Not only CP, but also Lieutenant General Marine are dispatched. Rayleigh saw Karen's doubts and said calmly. Rayleigh didn't seem to care, he joked. Chapter 170 Leaving Advertisement Non-Magnetic Island? Karen thought about Punk Hazard where Vega Punk was. It is also a non-magnetic island. There is no way to find the island without the eternal pointer. Non-magnetic islands are not very common in the New World, but I didn't expect Rayleigh to find them. There is something, it is indeed the team of One Piece. That's it. This can indeed reduce the chance of being discovered. Karen nodded, feeling relieved. Rayleigh guessed, you came here this time probably for that marine. Rayleigh once met Jesse and his group on the Sabodi Islands. Karen did not deny it, yes, I want to take him to treatment. Sigh, the way he looks now, I'm afraid even if he can be saved, he won't be able to return to his original state. Rayleigh sighed. Karen frowned slightly, there are so many abilities in this world, why can't they be restored to their original state? He suddenly thought of Roger. He surrendered because he was terminally ill, but weren't there surgical fruits in this world? There were also healing fruits and fleshball fruits, both of which could cure diseases. Even hormonal fruits have therapeutic effects. Why did Roger choose to give up? Could it be that his illness cannot be cured by the power of the fruit? Karen asked this question directly. I heard that Roger surrendered because he was terminally ill. Why didn't he look for the surgical fruit? I don't believe you don't know the power of this fruit. Rayleigh's eyes revealed the color of reminiscence, and then he sighed again. Do you know how big this sea is? Of course we know the fruit of the operation, but the captain's disease was discovered too late and too urgently. We didn't have time to find the fruit of the operation. Karen was stunned and then realized that he was talking to Rayleigh from God's perspective. As a time traveler, knowing the plot is his greatest cheat. Karen can easily understand things that are troublesome for others. He knew that in a few years Rosinante would lead Luo to find the fruits of the operation. We know that Bartholomew Bear is in the Solby Kingdom of South Blue, but we don't know if Ginny is still there. I also know that Ivankov is on the 6th floor of Impel City. Well, it is possible that he is still hanging around with Dolog. There is also the Princess of Lilliput, Menchili, in Dressrosa. Advertisement, but this information is like finding a needle in a haystack for Rayleigh. But even so, Karen couldn't guarantee that she would get the fruits of the operation. She didn't know how old the Princess of Lilliput was or whether she was born now. The whereabouts of the revolutionaries were not so easy to find. Now I think only Bartholomew Big Bear in South Blue is the most reliable. There is also Vegapunk, who is not a doctor but is more powerful than a doctor. He may also have a way. You know, he can even treat Bartholomew Bear's helpless jade scales. Seeing that Karen was still thinking, Rayleigh continued. So, it's not that we don't look for it, it's that we don't have much time left. Is this so? Haha, but I think you seem quite confident, what can you do? Karen revealed his plan without hiding it, go to Vegapunk first. Isn't he protected by the world government? If you take him with you, your goal is too big. I have a way. Okay, now take me to meet Jesse. Jesse was well protected by the Sun Pirates, and he still maintained his hanging posture. When Karen and Rayleigh came over, there was a man from the Longhand clan who was wiping the body of his stone sculpture. The petrified Jesse is like a handicraft, and these people only regard others as the work of an artist, not the petrified person. Lord Lei Feng. Lord Rayleigh, seeing Karen and Rayleigh, he bowed in panic and explained. I saw that it was a little dirty and wanted to wipe its body. Such realistic stone sculptures must be very expensive. I often wipe various items in Marijoya so they won't be damaged by it. Rayleigh waved her hand. Well, you did a good job, you are not needed here anymore. Okay. Karen lifted Jess's stone sculpture and slowly left this place with Rayleigh. The fewer people who knew about what was going to be done next, the better. Go back to where we were talking. Ji Huoniao obviously inherits Zhang Feng's character, which is calm, restrained, sharp, and close to Karen. Only Hancock can undo Jess's petrification. Of course, he can't undo it now. He can only use Hancock to use it and go with her to meet Vegapunk. Yes, don't worry, I'll be back soon. It turned its head stiffly, showing a flattering expression. Karen took the fire rat out of his coat pocket. The fire rat's eyes widened, his head shook like a rattle, and his face was full of reluctance. Advertisement, it's just that its cheeks are bigger than before. I'm really old, I didn't expect there are such new things now. Karen's mouth twitched slightly, knowing what it wanted. It seemed to be sleeping just now, still in a dazed state, with its chubby cheeks puffed up and looking at Karen innocently.
Karen snorted and pointed at Jess's statue again. Because his clothes can be huge. With no other choice, Karen asked Rayleigh for a piece of barbecue and handed it to the fire rat.
Karen doesn't know if there are sword spirits in this world, but there are ship spirits, so there should be sword spirits. Damn it, the people around me are really delicious. Then he pointed at his mouth with a trembling finger, and some saliva was secreted in his mouth. Should we still take Hancock with us? Rayleigh asked. This time the fire rat didn't hesitate. It instantly became very big, lay on Jess's body, and wrapped Jessie in his mouth bit by bit from the beginning. It's so big, I can't even try to fit it in. Karen's eyes narrowed slightly, and the fire rat seemed to have been shocked, and its hair stood on end.
Smelling the aroma of meat, the fire rat's body suddenly grew larger, opened a mouth much bigger than a basketball, and swallowed the roasted meat in one go.
Seeing that everything was over, Karen was ready to leave. Okay, it's time for me to go. Hamsters have the habit of storing food, and I don't know if this guy has eaten it. Karen pointed at the stone sculpture and motioned for it to swallow it. If she was alone, Karen wouldn't worry about being exposed. Okay, I'll ask Shaki to bring her over, as if reminding Karen of something. Although it was afraid of Karen's wire, Karen knew not to push it too hard, otherwise it would turn into a lighter, and Karen would have no choice. Until it completely disappears, then it slowly crawled along Karen's pants toward Karen's jacket pocket. Rayleigh on the side looked at this scene with interest and murmured. Then it returns to its original harmless appearance. It licked its lips with unsatisfied intentions and showed that flattering expression again. As for the lighter that was snatched away by Karen, the relationship with Karen can only rely on half of the carrot and half of the stick. Chapter 171 Rayleigh's Good Brother Lei Feng Advertisement. Let's go. Karen grabbed Hancock's little hand and prepared to leave the island. Etc. Tiger suddenly ran over, holding several newspapers in his hand. Lord Lei Feng, this is the news released today, and it is related to us. Karen glanced at Rayleigh. Rayleigh laughed. Newsbirds don't need pointers, they find this is normal. Karen took the newspaper and read it carefully. The first thing that caught the eye was the frozen Mary Joa on the cover of the newspaper. Under the sunlight, she looked quite shocking. Marie Joya frozen, slaves escape en masse. Resistance from slaves, the true identity of the mysterious Black Crow Lei Feng. Shocked. The era of the celestial dragons is about to end. Pluton Rayleigh reappears, and it's for a man. A series of shocking headlines filled the entire newspaper. There are a lot of details in the content, but most of them are inaccurate, but the general direction is correct. In addition to shocking the resistance of the slaves, the most common thing is the speculation about the identity of the Black Crow. It is clearly pointed out that the Black Crow is the successor of the Golden Lion. After all, this is what Karen personally admitted in Mary Joa. There is also something related to Rayleigh. They speculate that Black Crow Lei Feng is Rayleigh's twin brother and also Rayleigh's older brother. Is it sharp? But most of it is invalid information. Karen looked at the speculation above and couldn't laugh or cry. Is this super doubling for me?
When I opened the last newspaper, the headline was even more shocking.
The Golden Lion makes a rare appearance and admits that the Black Crow is his successor. The Golden Lion announced in a high profile that it was responsible for the slave escape incident. The Sky Pirates will overturn the tide of the times. A big question mark appeared in Karen's mind. What does this mean? Although Karen intended to ask the world government to guide the Golden Lion, he did not expect that the Golden Lion himself would actually respond. This old guy doesn't want to take advantage of this opportunity to come out again. Karen remembered that in the original book, the Golden Lion escaped from Impel Down and came to an island called Vermeo. He found that there were many animals on the island that became violent after eating plants containing IQ ingredients, so he and his deputy Drive Indigo studied IQ together and lived on a floating island to plan a comeback. He had endured it for more than 20 years before starting his revenge plan. It's a pity that he was defeated by the Straw Hats as soon as he came out of the mountain. Advertisement and was captured and imprisoned by Marine again. Is it possible that the Golden Lion is not going to continue to be patient this time? Karen felt that his tooth hurt a little, but he didn't expect the Golden Lion to show up early due to his own reasons. What's wrong? Rayleigh leaned over and stretched his head to see the title of the newspaper. He smiled with interest. I didn't expect that even Shaki would be interested in this matter. However, this is a good thing. He can help us attract the attention of world governments. Karen nodded. Indeed, the appearance of the Golden Lion can indeed divert some of the world government's attention. What kind of person is he? Karen asked. Rayleigh sighed. He is a madman worthy of respect. A respectable madman. Thinking of what Golden Lion did, it was hard for Karen to disagree. Unable to believe that his old enemy was arrested by Marine, he single-handedly broke into Marine headquarters. Later, in order to escape from Impel Down City, he cut off his own legs with his own hands, becoming the first pirate to escape from Impel Down City. From this point of view, it is not an exaggeration to call him a lunatic. I don't understand why he was defeated by Luffy, who had not transformed into the sun god Nika despite being such a ruthless person. Karen shook his head and decided not to think about it anymore. Anyway, he and the Golden Lion have no intersection now. If he really encounters him, Karen is confident that he is not afraid of him. With a thought, he opened the system interface in his mind. Target reputation. 496,804,264 1 billionths. Hiss, it's so terrifying. In just a few days, half of his goal has been accomplished. It seems that the impact of this incident is much more terrifying than Karen expected. Good guy, am I still your brother? Rayleigh took the newspaper from Karen's hand and shook her head helplessly. What is Morgan's doing? I'm obviously the older one, so I should be the eldest brother anyway. Rayleigh continued to read the newspaper with a very dissatisfied expression. Karen had no time to discuss the authenticity of the news with him and handed all the newspapers to Rayleigh. Okay, Hancock, let's go. Arriving at the edge of the island, Karen directly released the possessed form of Guhuo bird, revealing his original appearance. Hancock was stunned for a moment, then looked at Karen fascinated. It turns out that Lord Lei Feng is Marine. Master Lei Feng is so handsome, ying ying ying. Advertisement, what are you doing standing still? Follow me. Karen has already sat on the back of the bird. Since he wants to take Hancock to meet Vegapunk, he can't hide his true identity from her. Oh, okay, Lord Lei Feng. Hancock came to his senses and climbed onto the back of the bird. Just call me Karen. Karen said calmly. Okay, Lord Cullen. Hancock looked like a primary school student being called upon by the teacher, very well behaved and cute. No, your personality is ruined. Aren't you the Empress? Why do you look like a little woman? Hold me tight, Karen reminded. The speed of the bird is very fast. If he does not hold himself tightly, Hancock may fall off the back of the bird because of his speed. Okay. Hancock hugged Karen's waist very obediently, and the blush on his face became more intense. Karen glanced down at the slender red hands in front of him, and the corners of his mouth twitched slightly. Taking out the life card belonging to Vegapunk from his arms, the bird spread its wings, followed the guidance, and flew into the distance. The speed of Guhuo bird was very fast, only 2 hours passed. Karen then saw the familiar island, Punk Hassad. Punk Hassad is still the same as when Karen first came here, with lush green everywhere and full of life. The bird slowly landed on the ground, Karen said calmly. We're here. No response. Loon turned to look at Hancock and found that she had fallen asleep. She shook her head helplessly. This silly girl, wake up. He tapped Hancock's arm to wake her up. Hancock rubbed his eyes with a confused look on his face. Then he thought of something and almost fell off Ji Huoniao's back. Fortunately, Karen caught her. Be careful. Oh. Hancock stood on the ground and carefully looked at his surroundings. Looking back again, she saw Karen taking off her clothes. She panicked and covered her little face, exposing a gap. Master Karen, is this too fast? I am not mentally prepared yet. And this place is different from what I imagined. However, if Master Karen really needs it, Chapter 172 Daughter? Advertisement. This is all a mess. Karen untied the cloak behind him, and his head was covered with black lines. Hey, what are you thinking about? Karen explained. This is the territory of the world government. Your identity cannot be exposed yet. You will hide in my clothes for a while and don't make a sound. It turns out you didn't want to do that kind of thing. Hancock was a little disappointed. What are you doing standing still? Okay. Hancock removed his hands from his eyes, and then hugged Karen from behind. Ahem, you can go up a little bit, down a little bit, and up a little bit, that's it. Being hugged by Hancock, Karen also blushed a little and her body became a little stiff. Hold on to me, Karen warned. It doesn't have to be so tight. He and Hancock walked all the way to the front of Vegapunk's research institute. He entered the password he learned from Zon Taumaru and slowly opened the door. Who? Karen. After taking a few steps, he was recognized by a Marine. He is a member of the world government's scientific defense force. Although he is also a Marine, in terms of organization, he is more like a world government person. Well, it's me. After coming here last time, Karen and Marine here have established a good relationship, mainly because they have eaten Karen's cooking. Shouldn't you be searching for the Black Crow? Why do you still have time to come here? This incident spread really widely, and even Punk Hassad, who had little contact with the outside world, got the news. Karen responded calmly, I happened to be passing by. The Marine in front of him was very excited. Ever since he last tasted the food cooked by Karen, he couldn't forget the taste. Ha. Okay, welcome back, but I still need to ask the doctor for instructions. You know, this is the process. No need to ask for permission. If Karen comes, just let him in. A passing robot makes Vegapunk sounds. Okay, doctor. Arriving at Vegapunk's bedroom, Karen Gate of Opening said straight to the point. Doctor, I need you to do me a favor, advertisement. Vegapunk looked at Karen eagerly. What a favor, I will help you as long as I can. He was very friendly to Karen, who not only brought him many useful books, but also provided him with many interesting ideas. He was already preparing for Karen's last proposal. Karen took out the fire rat and let it spit out Jessie. This is stone sculpture? Vegapunk was a little confused. The shape is a bit weird, but it's quite realistic. Which master is it? Karen did not answer, but took off his loose clothes, revealing Hancock hidden inside. She kept listening to Karen's orders and made no sound from beginning to end. Okay, Hancock, this is Dr. Vegapunk, Karen introduced her. Hancock let go of his hand, glanced at Vegapunk curiously, and then began to look at the surrounding environment. Vegapunk was startled by Hancock at first, and then thought that Karen had said that he had a daughter. Haha, is this your daughter, daughter? Hancock was startled, and then glared at Vegapunk angrily. The unreasonable guy actually regards me as Master Karen's daughter, am I that young? Hancock is 14 years old this year, but since women are born to mature earlier than men, not to mention this is the world of One Piece. So her figure is already taking shape. Although she is not as big as when she matures, her strength should not be underestimated. What are you talking about? Hancock asked angrily, the blush on his face turned deep red, and he almost jumped with anger.
She couldn't believe that Vegapunk had misunderstood her relationship with Karen.
A daughter is not what she wants. Vegapunk was shocked and realized that he had said something wrong. He quickly waved his hand to explain.
No, I didn't mean that. I just think your relationship is very close.
Karen couldn't help but laugh. She didn't expect Vegapunk to show such embarrassment when facing Hancock.
Haha, doctor, how old am I? How could I have such a big child?
Vegapunk looked at Karen resentfully, with an apologetic tone. Sorry, I was the first to think first. After a pause, he said angrily. But this is also your fault. Didn't you say you would bring your daughter next time? When I saw her, of course I thought she was your daughter. When Hancock heard this, he looked at Karen in astonishment, with disbelief and loss. Advertisement, so Master Karen already has a wife? Am I going to make it smaller in the future? What kind of person is Karen's wife? I heard that she would be bullied when she was young. She began to fantasize about being harassed by a strange woman in the future. Woo woo woo, for Master Karen, I will bear it. Vegapunk rolled his eyes and said with a smile. Haha, I made a mistake, she is an adopted daughter.
The color returned to Hancock's eyes, and she looked at Karen expectantly.
Karen nodded. Great, no need to be bullied anymore. Hancock patted her chest and breathed a sigh of relief. She raised her chin and tried to look more mature. Unreasonable person, I am not Lord Karen's daughter, I am the one who wants to be Lord Karen's wife. Vegapunk secretly gave Karen a thumbs up, it's like saying, you are really good. Karen smiled awkwardly and said seriously, okay, stop making trouble, Hancock help me. Halfway through Karen's words, she realized that she was too impatient, so she told Vegapunk exactly what happened to Jesse.
This is the place where Vegapunk took Karen to collect his books last time. Vegapunk is very confident about the confidentiality here.
But Karen still left out the story about Mary Joa. Vegapunk nodded, thoughtfully. After circling around Jesse for a long time, he said.
I'm not sure. His injury is serious. Come with me.
Karen walked towards the laboratory with Hancock and Vegapunk. Arriving deep into the laboratory, Vegapunk stopped and stood at the door to conduct a pupil scan. With a beep sound, the door of the laboratory was opened. Vegapunk walked in first and pointed at a cylindrical water tank. The water tank is filled with transparent liquid, and there are some floating biological samples in it, with different shapes, mysterious and weird. Put him in. As he spoke, he walked to a machine, pressed a few buttons at random, and opened a hole in the top of the water tank. Karen didn't hesitate and put Jesse in directly. With Jesse completely submerged in the water, Vegapunk nodded to Karen. Karen looked at Hancock, undo the petrification attached to him. Chapter 173 Jesse Advertisement. Bah! With a sound of air pressure, the door to the laboratory slowly opened. Karen, who was sitting at the door of the corridor, stood up quickly, and Vegapunk walked out tiredly. How's it going, Doctor? My life was saved, but it's basically impossible to get him back to his old ways. As soon as Karen entered, he saw circles of wired trachea surrounding Jess's body, replenishing his life functions and making him appear somewhat mechanical. The cold light from the laboratory shone on him, reflecting an icy glow, and his face was horribly pale. He closed his eyes tightly and floated in the liquid in the laboratory. Isn't he awake yet? Karen asked. Vegapunk sighed and rubbed his temples. Yes, this accident caused irreversible damage to his body. Although we saved his life, his body will always rely on these mechanical devices. What do you mean? He will become a vegetable later. That's not true. He will wake up after a few days of rest. It's just that his skin, bones and other tissues will become very fragile and cannot even withstand the pressure of gravity. The mechanical function will help him maintain basic physiological functions. Once he leaves the nutrient solution, the body will deteriorate rapidly. Vegapunk said, with a hint of helplessness on his face. Karen's heart sank, so he won't be able to move freely like before? Yes, this is the limit of what I can do. At this point, he suddenly paused and sighed. Actually, there is another way. Hearing these words, Karen felt a glimmer of hope and asked anxiously, what can I do? Vegapunk took a deep look at Karen and said slowly, abandon the body and make him completely mechanized, but in that case, he may become less human in the future. This suggestion was like a sharp sword, deeply piercing Karen's heart. He couldn't accept his partner turning into a cold machine and losing his original humanity and warmth. He suddenly thought of Frankie, who also transformed himself into a coke-fueled cyborg after being seriously injured. Karen asked, will he lose human consciousness? Vegapunk thought for a while and said, usually not. I have a colleague who used this method to transform himself. His consciousness is very clear and he has even become stronger than before. Quinn, Kaido's confidant, is one of the 3 main leaders of the Beast's pirates. Before joining the Beast Pirates, he belonged to the research team MADS. He was a scientist who created dangerous machine weapons and germs. He also modified his body and mastered technologies similar to Germa 66. This is the worst case scenario, Doctor. I plan to look for the healing fruit. Maybe the person with the ability to heal the fruit has a way. As soon as Karen finished speaking, Vegapunk was slightly startled, and then showed a hint of approval. It is indeed possible for a person with the ability to heal the fruit to help Jesse recover or even reverse some of the damage. But the sea is so vast, can you find it? Advertisement, don't worry, I have a way. The two slowly left the laboratory, and no one noticed Jess's slightly trembling little finger. Okay, Hancock, get ready to leave. Until night, Karen woke up the sleepy Hancock. Okay, Karen. I don't know if Vegapunk stimulated her, but she actually gave up the honorific title and changed it to a more affectionate one. Hancock skillfully hid under Karen's coat, hugged Karen tightly, felt his body temperature and felt reassured. By the way, Doctor, I have one more request, just say it. I need a speaker, as long as it can make music. Until now, Karen has not discovered how to use the god of BGM. Haha, okay, it's very simple, I can make it for you now. Vegapunk's eyes lit up and he said excitedly, take it next time. I only have one request, which is to make it stronger. Vegapunk didn't hesitate and agreed directly, okay. After reboarding the island, Karen did not choose to fly directly to Rayleigh's gathering place, but just landed on the edge of the island. Karen, do you think we can meet again? Hancock said, very disappointed. She knew that after solving Jess's matter, she would leave New World with her 2 sisters and return to Nine Snakes Island.
Of course, don't worry, I will go to Nine Snake Island to see you when I have time. Karen nodded and comforted. The color returned to Hancock's face. I agreed, I must come.
Well, okay, you can go back by yourself, I won't go. Why? I don't like the atmosphere of parting. Okay, bye, Karen. Goodbye. Karen watched Hancock's back gradually move away, and after a while he turned back again. She quickly rushed to Karen, and kissed Karen on the cheek under Karen's astonished gaze. Advertisement then, he turned around and left without looking back. Karen stayed in place, reaching out and touching the place where Hancock kissed. There was a ripple in my heart. This girl. How enviable, Major General Cullen. At this moment, a lazy voice came from the edge of the island. Lieutenant General of Marine Headquarters, Kuzan. Karen turned around, not surprised by his appearance. When he and Hancock were flying in the sky, he saw a tiny line of ice spreading on the sea. The target trajectory is the island where Rayleigh is hiding. Rayleigh is right, this kind of isolated island is a non-magnetic island, and it is difficult to find it without an eternal pointer. Kakuzan itself is an aimless journey in the sea. It was such a coincidence that he happened to meet this isolated island. Karen said calmly, hello, Lieutenant General Kuzan. Oh, although we are not very familiar with each other, I am still your senior brother no matter what. Is it appropriate to be so indifferent? Kuzan is riding a bicycle, wearing sunglasses, combing his curly hair, and his posture is very lazy.
You were the one who called me military first. Karen corrected.
Is that so? Kuzan yawned and said casually, okay, Karen, Jr.
Karen didn't answer, but still looked at him coldly, ready to fight at any time.
To be honest, he has no confidence in winning. As Marine's super poster, Kuzan is not an animal type. But Logia is more restrained against Karen. Not only can Gourmet be unable to use it against him, but it will also be ineffective even if he is 100% caught with bare hands. If he really wants to fight, Karen can only win by relying on his own physical strength and combat experience. Honestly, I didn't expect it to be you. You are indeed Mr. ZFA's most proud student. You are better than me. Kuzan approached Karen slowly on his bicycle, but had no intention of taking action. I didn't have the guts to challenge the world government back then. After a pause, he continued, it's the same now. Karen said coldly, I don't understand what you are talking about. Just think I'm talking nonsense. About 3 meters away from Karen, Kuzan stopped riding. I admire you, I really do. Chapter 174 Justice Advertisement. Kuzan pulled a pack of cigarettes from his coat pocket and threw it toward Karen. Karen reached out and took it, but didn't light it. Kuzan continued. I've always envied people like you. People like us? Karen asked doubtfully. Yes, whether it's Mr. Garp, Teacher Zepha, or you, even that guy Sakaski knows his beliefs clearly. Be firm in your beliefs and do whatever you want. Although Kuzan couldn't see his expression clearly with his glasses, it was not difficult to tell from his tone that he really envied Karen. You can say whatever you want and do whatever you want, it's really cool. You can do it too. I can't, because I love thinking. Isn't this bad? Ever since I experienced that incident, I have often thought about the consequences of doing so. If I think too much, I will not dare to do it. O'Hara? Buster called. Yes, it seems you know it too. Didn't you protect the person you wanted to protect? Kuzan was stunned for a moment, then smiled bitterly and said, they're not the only ones I want to protect. I don't even know if what I did was right or not. As a Marine, I am incompetent. I let go of the mission goal. As a friend, I did nothing about this matter. As a human being, I clearly feel that this matter is wrong. Yes, but I still took a boatload of people to kill all the people living in O'Hara. They are just innocent civilians. Karen looked at the confused Kuzan and lowered his guard. He comforted, it's not your fault. Kuzan shook his head, no, this is my fault. Before Karen could continue to comfort him, he stared at Karen with bright eyes and said in a deep voice. Tell me, Karen, what exactly is justice? Karen was stunned, not expecting Kuzan to suddenly ask such a question. He pondered for a moment, thinking seriously about this complex and profound subject. Justice is a relative concept, Karen said slowly, his eyes flashing with thought. In the eyes of some, justice may mean following law and order, while in the eyes of others, justice is about protecting the weak and innocent, even at the expense of disobeying the law. Advertisement Kuzan's brows wrinkled slightly, as if he was not satisfied with this answer. But does this mean that justice itself is a subjective judgment? When we face different choices, who can tell us which choice is right? You're right. Karen nodded and continued. Justice is often complicated, and even on the same matter, different people will have different views.
Kuzan was still very confused and asked, where do you think justice is?
Karen looked at him deeply and said in a loud voice. What I believe is right is my justice. Kuzan shook his head, this is too arbitrary. Then he lowered his head again and asked himself in a low and inaudible voice. What do I think is correct?
Protect or comply, Karen whispered. Follow your heart.
Kuzan looked at Karen in confusion, but I don't know what I'm thinking in my heart. No, you never knew, did you? Kuzan was stunned. Karen's words were like a heavy hammer, hitting the depths of his soul. He trembled slightly, as if a long-lasting memory had been uncovered. I always knew, Kuzan murmured to himself, his eyes gradually becoming blurred.
All the choices and struggles in the past seemed to be emerging at this moment.
Deep in his heart, there seemed to be a voice shouting in a low voice, but he suppressed it without a trace. Yes, you know. Karen finally revealed his foxtail. Is that so? You have been struggling in your heart. As a Marine, your duty is to comply, but you are opposed to this choice in your heart. This is not a contradiction, but the true justice in your heart is speaking out. Even if this road is full of challenges, only in this way can you find your true self and your justice.
Kuzan was thoughtful. He thought of his hesitation and struggle when facing Karen, and of intercepting Soro who was attacking the Marine warship in O'Hara.
Following orders and following justice are not necessarily the same thing. Real justice comes from the heart, not external orders. Many times, orders may go against our true inner thoughts. But as a Marine, shouldn't I follow orders? He retorted, his voice low. Advertisement Karen continued, what does complete justice look like? Let Rayleigh make his own decision whether to leave or stay.
Choose what you feel in your heart is right. Poor Salino's ambiguous justice and Kuzan's lazy justice make him full of complicated emotions about Marine's future.
But he still can't get rid of the shackles of his identity. Karen continued. When you feel confused about something, it proves that you actually already have the answer in your heart. Karen encouraged, thank you, Karen. Watching Kuzan leave, Karen slowly breathed a sigh of relief. He was not sure that he could defeat Kuzan, but Rayleigh was there to protect him. Kuzan was shocked. How should I choose? Now is not the time to reveal your identity. At that moment, his mood was not as a member of Marine, but as a person with feelings and thoughts. Kuzan is gone. Maybe that day won't be too late. Yes. Although Kuzan had no intention of capturing slaves, Karen still wanted to tell Rayleigh the news. Karen's tone was still firm, like a master of spiritual encouragement, with a hint of bewilderment. But if he really takes action, his identity will probably be completely exposed. He finally smiled. If you have figured it out, you are welcome to come to me. Karen shook his head, turned around and walked deeper into the forest. Just like today, as Marine, you discovered my other identities, but your first thought was not to arrest, which means you understand that arresting is wrong. Karen continued. Karen sighed and thought of Perusalino, who had also let him go. He had already met two of Marine's future generals, and he couldn't help but feel filled with emotion. Kuzan raised his head, his eyes flashing with thought. Kuzan always felt something was wrong. Karen said firmly, the voice deep in your heart has been telling you how to choose. It's just that you are afraid to face it. Chapter 175 Dressrosa Advertisement Delos Rosa Waters. A pirate ship flying a flag, wearing lipstick and a top hat, was moving quickly. Brother, I heard that Dressrosa is a franchised country, and now Marine and the world government are active in the New World like crazy. Do we really want to go there and let them build a scented tea factory? A tall woman with thick lips, silver-white lipstick, and long silver-white wavy hair said slowly. She is Charlotte Smoothie, the 14th daughter of the Big Mom pirates Charlotte Linlin. The man sitting in front of her slowly opened his eyes and sneered. Haha, what about the franchise countries? This is New World. Since we have the money to pay heavenly gold, it won't be difficult to build a few dessert factories for us. With that said, he stood up from the sofa. He is tall, muscular, and his legs are long and full of power. There is a pink tattoo on the left arm and left back. The most distinctive thing is that he wears a flower-like scarf around his neck, which covers his neck and mouth. He is Charlotte Katakuri, the second son of Charlotte Linlin, the most charming leader of the 3 generals of the Big Mom pirates. These annoying Marines have indeed been active in the New World recently. I heard they are searching for slaves who escaped from Marijoya. Smoothie nodded and said with a smile, yes, we have fought against many Marines in New World these days, and their strength is not that great. Don't take it lightly. Marine still has a few tools to become the overlord of the sea. Katakuri gave an admonishment and continued. What they did this time is really too much, but they probably won't stay in the New World for too long. Smoothie's eyes lit up. She had long been unhappy with those annoying Marines. Has Mom decided to take action against them? Katakuri shook his head and Smoothie was a little disappointed. But Katakuri nodded again and said slowly, not only Mom, but also the Kaido pirates, Honeycomb Island, and the Whitebeard pirates will take action together. New World is the territory of pirates. Ha ha ha, great, it will be very lively next time. Smoothie raised his head and shouted excitedly. The smile on his face could not be suppressed, but then it turned into shock. Advertisement, what? She pointed to the sky in surprise, and a black shadow passed over her head. Katakuri looked in the direction of her finger, narrowed his eyes slightly, and murmured. What a strong breath. At the same time, Karen sat on Jiyu Huoniao's broad back, with some doubts in his eyes. Big Mom pirates. After leaving the isolated island where Rayleigh was hiding, he was delayed a bit because he did not have the eternal pointer to Dressrosa. He passed several unknown islands on the way before he determined the specific location of Dressrosa. After flying again for a while, Karen finally saw what Dressrosa looked like. Dressrosa was originally the kingdom of the Don Quixote family 900 years ago. Later, they established a world government with 20 countries. Don Quixote broke away from Dressrosa and became the aloof celestial dragon. Now Yuriku becomes the new royal family. As a member of the world government, Dressrosa also faces high amounts of money from the sky. Because the Liku clan liberated the slaves of the small humans and lost the labor of the small humans, they became much poorer than before. Under Doflamingo's management, it became an underground city in the Dark World. Doflamingo relied on his arms business and various military factories to make Deros Rosa prosperous. However, this does not mean that the Liku family is stupid and can. Being able to pay all the gold in the sky in the New World means that Dressrosa is actually doing pretty well under the governance of King Riku. This is a tropical island with a resort style, and the tourism industry is quite good. It is most famous for its beauties and dancing. There is also an arena that symbolizes strength. As soon as Karen approached the island, an alluring fragrance penetrated his nostrils. It made him sneeze several times in succession. He didn't intend to stay here long, so he crossed directly over the pier and flew towards the highest peak of Dressrosa. That's where the kingdom lies. If you want to find a small human race, the best way is to go directly to the person in charge of such an island. Who? Advertisement. As soon as he jumped off Jiyu Huoniao, a group of guards wearing heavy armor spotted him. The leader, Karen, is quite familiar with him. He is Cyrus, who won 3,000 consecutive victories in the bullfighting arena. Because he was influenced by King Liku, he became the captain of King Liku's army, and even got a beautiful woman back and married Liku. Scarlet, the daughter of King Ku. Don't be nervous, I'm Marine. Karen waved his hand and showed the Major General medal in front of him. Marine? Why are you here? Cyrus still looked wary.
Karen did not answer directly, but said with a smile.
Please tell me that the Vice Admiral of the Marine headquarters wants to see King Riku. Ha ha ha, it's such an honor for Marine to come to my little Dressrosa. King Liku has white hair and a very low posture. In the palace of the king, King Liku was sitting in the royal family. Karen was on his left, and next to him was Cyrus who looked wary and Violet who was curious. She stared straight at Karen, sometimes frowning and sometimes blushing. Karen knew that she had the ability to see through the staring fruit, which allowed her to observe things within a radius of 4,000 kilometers, see through objects, and see through people's hearts. Although Karen is confident that his armor can prevent her from seeing into his heart, his clothes cannot. Being stared at by her like this, Karen felt uncomfortable in her heart. King Riku on the side also noticed Karen's discomfort. He glared at Violet, who then looked back at Karen and lowered his head slightly, but his cheeks were as red as 2 ripe apples. She didn't know what she saw. They say this is the land of fairies of love and passion, and the name is indeed correct. I didn't expect this princess to be so bold. Karen murmured in his heart, smiled slightly, and said with a normal expression, No, Dressrosa, as a member of the world government, is naturally the focus of our marine. After a few casual polite words, Karen decided to get straight to the point. But King Riku was the first to say, I am also very sad about what happened to Marijoya. It's just that although our country is a kingdom in the New World, there is really nothing we can do to search for slaves. Apparently King Riku also watches the news. It turns out that King Riku thought I wanted him to search for slaves. You misunderstood, this is not what I came here for.